but he's fucked up the plan. And that's about when everything went sour at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die as hard as we can. No one dies harder than John McClane, even when his wife's stuck on a plane, about to crash into the Potomac River on the eve of Christmas. And airport security kicked him out, but John McClane is just too damn proud, and nothing could have made him not deliver, cause that's his business. And with a lot of fights and gunplay, he blew that plane up on the runway. And with a little help from Alan, Holly's plane could land. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die as hard as we can. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. No one dies harder than John McClane, saving all the passengers on the train. When Simon wasn't clear with his intentions, it was just a distraction. And there was no way McClane could know that Hans Gruber was Simon's bro. And that's what made it Die Hard with a vengeance, with Samuel Jackson. And the good cop wouldn't miss this, even though it wasn't Christmas. He didn't get any help from Alan, but only in part 3. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die hard. We're gonna die, 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 die as hard as we can. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down.
All right, welcome back everybody to Shat the Movies on Twitch. Big D, can you hear me? How you doing over there?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a long time.
Excellent. Yeah, so it's been a minute since we have done this. Thanks everyone who's joining us. We've got 4 viewers in the chat, so we're off to a great start. That's all we can expect after being dormant for I think 7 months now. We haven't done one of these, but we had so many emails queuing up in the mailbag that we decided, hey, we got to do a special episode, get on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And instead of spending time with ourselves or our families, we're spending time with you, our internet family. So today, the way it's going to work is we're going to go through a bunch of emails. If you miss any part of this, it will be on YouTube later, and also we'll release it as an audio podcast. Alabama Worley, thanks for your first time chat. Good to see you. If anybody can't hear us, if the audio is off, if you need it to be loud or anything, please let us know in the chat. We'll adjust it. Since the last time we've been on Twitch, Streamlabs has adjusted a bunch of things, including how chats work, how highlights work. So we'll see what functions are still there. We'll see what functions aren't. But Big D, thanks so much for joining me. I feel like now that we've seen each other in person, it feels weird.
Yeah.
It feels weird to see you online. I'm like, why don't you just live next door?
I know. Well, for the first time, we've embraced. We've had each other's sweat.
Yeah.
Your face has been right on my taint. It was like we were as intimate as we've ever been in these 6 years that we've known each other.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike, for joining up. Mike says, "What's up, Shat Crew?" Mike L from shitty Long Island here. Love you guys. Hey, there's nothing wrong
No,
Long
I'm a
Island.
I'm a Stony Brook grad. I know about Long
born in
Island.
Manhattan. Or
Yeah.
I was born in Manhasset.
Mhm.
I just lost all my cred by mixing those two up. Long Island Jewish Hospital, Mike. Let me know if you're from there. Top Groove 84 says, Gene, it's all your fault, bro. Probably true. Probably true. Okay.
But before you jump into this,
Yeah.
people, this is the first time that this new Streamlab thing where I can see the comments. Every other time, it's been like I was just a passenger. Now I feel like I'm part of the ride. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I should announce that we put up a poll to ask people if they preferred Twitch or YouTube Live, and we might be moving off of Twitch. We'll see how it goes, but it seemed like 80-something% of people said they prefer to see us on YouTube, and we want to go where you guys are. So also let us know in the chat if you love Twitch, if you like YouTube better. Obviously, all the videos end up on YouTube, but if we did it on YouTube Live, there might be more people who aren't intimidated by Twitch or whatever, don't have to create accounts, etc. So that might be the solution. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So moving on to the emails, we've got quite a few this week. I am going to do like the whole chat podcast intro just so that we can cut it as an audio so you guys can see a little behind the scenes, I guess. Scruff Kingman AZ says, nice Nightmare on Elm Street poster, Big D. A friend's dad growing up worked on that movie. He made the glove.
Wow. Very cool. I tried to make my own. It was not as impressive, but it was
like as a child or recently.
No, it was as a child. There was a it was a copper pipe. You cut them in half. You would make the little joint, and then you took a knife, and I couldn't weld, so it was a lot of glue gun, and terrified my parents that I'd take them apart some knives. But yeah, that was a great prop.
I remember the first time as a kid when I saw like the ready-made ones for Halloween, and it was like super. I mean, that was like the thing to have, right? I don't think I even had a Freddy Krueger costume. I just had the glove, and you were like, I'm Freddy. That's all you really needed.
That's all you needed.
Yeah, he says look up Lou Carlucci. That sounds like a lemon party kind of trick, where you Google Lou Carlucci and something totally different comes up.
He's got to be another Long Island guy too.
Yeah, probably. Hey,
yeah,
it's Lou Carlucci. He makes gloves.
You fuck with Lou Carlucci.
No.
You know what he's gonna do to you?
Hey, Steve, good to see you from South Africa. So, okay, one more announcement. I lied before we get started. To help support the podcast, if you wish to, it's not an obligation by any means. You can cheer for us using bits. So the bits, that little like diamond-looking thing over by your chat box, you can click on that and use bits to cheer. Those cost you, I don't know how much, a couple cents, depending on what Twitch is charging lately. You can also subscribe to us and gift subscriptions. Those are going to be a little less valuable to people, I think, because we might be moving to YouTube TV, so you might not want to spend money on that. But if you do, if you wish to subscribe or give a subscription, that'd be great. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can do a free subscription. Doesn't cost you anything, so just go through your Twitch Prime, and you can use that to subscribe to Chat at the Movies for the month, and it gives us a couple bucks, so that's awesome too. So all those ways are great. And if you just want to highlight or goof around, there's also a little the little bubble on the lower left hand. That's your channel points. You just accrue those for participating, so you can use those to highlight messages, ask us to do stuff like take drinks, whatever. So so those are all good ways to participate. And of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, but I imagine all of you guys have. Gunsmoke says, hey guys, nice to finally join a live Twitch feed. Nice to have you. Death Dak says, that Stormfront wake you up, Big D?
No, but you will probably hear whistling. It sounds like there's a hurricane, like there's a train going outside the door. That is the wind that he's discussing.
Oh, I did hear that. I thought that was like a movie or
like a nasal, like
yeah.
some kind
I
of
thought
nasal
it was
thing.
you and you needed an operation.
That is there is a giant storm.
Yeah, Top.
I mean, it's sunny, but it's just. Let's. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see it. It's blowing.
It just looked like there was a lady standing behind your window.
It's my mother. It's Vanessa's mannequin.
Oh, okay. Top Group says, I know it's unlikely that you'll run out of 80s and 90s movies, but do you think you'll ever be open to any movies? Now, we do sometimes do 70s movies. So actually this week later today, we're recording the Muppet movie from 1979.
Well, also, if you do look at the schedule, there are some 2000 films coming in there, people. So I think the door has been cracked open. We're peeking in. You just got to come over and just kick it. It's going to open. I mean, there's a 2000 for the first time in the schedule.
Yeah, and it's, again, I think we'll evolve, but you're absolutely right, Top Groove. The saying you want to see other movies is one thing. People often say you guys are going to run out of movies, which is like, no way that's going to happen in the 80s and 90s. There's just so many.
I think more of our listeners will die
Yeah.
before we run out of films. We'll have people who don't remember the 80s or 90s before
Yeah.
we run out of movies.
Well, I mean, they're mostly on YouTube, so they're clearly pretty old. Scruff Kingman AZ says, have you guys done Night of the Comet? We have not. That movie
good
is
one.
ridiculous. It is really, really good. So maybe we'll consider that in the future. Okay. All right. Getting on with the pod. Let's go ahead and do the put on our radio voices. Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really good? Really good.
Really that good.
Really that good. Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And normally we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up, but this week we're getting caught up on all the email listeners have sent in over the past few months. We're recording this episode live on Twitch and apologize in advance if things get way out of control. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all that information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, to hang out with us live, which a lot of you are doing right now, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, where we play video games, host watch parties, edit this podcast live, and do mailbag editions. And finally, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, please visit shatpod.com. To write us, you can email us at hosts@shatpod.com, which everybody featured in this episode did. So we got a couple different themes with the emails today. We've got a lot of them about movies we have covered, a ton about movies that people wish to commission, which I think we can, on this pod, give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And then, of course, information about the pod and just what's coming up in the future. And then there's a couple deeply personal ones. Thank you, Top Groove 84, for your subscription. Really, really appreciate that and your support for the pod. Okay, Big D, are you ready to go?
I am ready.
All right, man. Here we go. I'm going to pull up our first email of the day. And this one is from Ronnie, and it's about Fargo. And Ronnie writes in and says, I've always loved Fargo, but for some reason didn't make it a priority to listen to that episode. Today, I put it on, and holy shit, I was dying laughing the entire time. It's over 2 years old, but this episode has got to be the funniest episode I've heard so far. Between Big D likening North Dakota's landscape to Planet Hoth, Gene saying he doesn't want to hang out with his friends and just enjoys his dogs and Sarah, and Ash saying all movies portray the South with everyone talking slow and sweating without air conditioning, the laughs kept coming. An added bonus that's rare on your episodes is the clip after the credits at the end where Big D yells at Ash's son to put his pants on, only for Ash to call out Big D's daughter for not wearing shirts. It was like putting a bow on a perfectly wrapped package. I've already told my wife and friends about your podcast, but the Fargo episode is now going to be the gold standard that I recommend anyone to listen to as the first episode to experience you guys. In a time where most popular podcasts are about death and dismemberment in true crime or political news, it's such a breath of fresh air to hear fun reviews for movies that people our age have grown up loving. Love the work you guys do, and I plan on commissioning a film one day to give back for all the free entertainment. I think I speak for all the fans when I say thank you and keep up the fantastic work. And that comes from Ronnie.
Okay, so we've been doing the podcast now 6 years. So we started looking back on movies to remember them. We've now done it so long that I've started to forget. So when he brings up Fargo, I'm like, oh shit, were we bad? Were we rough on it? I don't remember it. We loved it. We gave it a 0.25.
That's a great movie.
It's in our top 6.
Now, it's one of those rare ones, too, where a lot of times if a movie is real quality, it's not that funny a podcast. I mean, it can be an important podcast. We don't have to be hilarious all the time or even the majority of the time. Fargo's a different one, though, because when people ask me, like, hey, what are the funniest ones you guys have done? I always bring up Predator 2. I think that one was absolutely genius. I really think a recent one we did, Great Expectations, was hilarious. But Fargo, I don't remember it being that funny. But again, this is 2 years ago. I mean, when they wrote about Emma walking around without a shirt on, that's unthinkable today. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe she walks around the house topless anyway.
No. But I just remember like my curiosity about the landscape, the lifestyle, it not being very pleasant. It does look like Hoth. So yeah, and also those stingers that are at the end, there's more than you think. There are some outtakes there. There's some that will just blow your mind, and I stick them in there, and sometimes people notice them, and I'm glad they do. But go back and listen. Stay through the trailer, people, because you'll be surprised at what's there.
Scruff King Manezi asks, "Do you guys have home theaters?" Now, this is a funny question because I would say that we're on the go a lot. We're very busy. Big D seems to be traveling to Brazil every other day. I'm on the road a lot, and so we try our best. I mean, I try my best to watch it at home on the biggest screen possible, with surround sound. But a lot of times you're watching on an iPad, on a laptop, anywhere you can find it. And then, of course, there are episodes like Blood In, Blood Out, where you're watching like a YouTube stream that's all blurry, or some pirated version of Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, no, I think it's a 65-inch, but it's not 4K. It's just, it's a Vizio that's probably like 5 or 6 years old, but it still works. And I usually watch with Bluetooth headphones on because Emma and Vanessa are normally asleep. And I like to pick up the sounds, and I use the subtitles anyway. But I mean, it's nothing fancy. When that thing dies, I will get a nice TV, but it does. The Vizio keeps kicking. So
it's a good brand. It's a good brand TV.
it is a good brand.
Top Groove 84 says, "My wife can hear you guys, so please tell her what she's missing. Anything before 2000 to her is old." Well, you're missing the greatest podcast on Apple Podcasts. No, it's I would say that movies have evolved a great deal, and I would say that some of my favorite movies are from the 2000s or even more recent. I would not say that the 80s and 90s were a golden age for film. We're not like that nostalgic, but there are some gems like that we discover when doing this that really blow our minds. We're like, fuck, this is a really good movie that I either don't remember being that good. I mean, we just did Dances with Wolves. 1990 still holds up. It's 33 years old.
Yeah, and also tell your wife, most of the movies that we do, one of us hasn't seen. So if the two of you, if you like 80s movies, tell her about one that you really liked, watch the movie, then listen to the podcast, because then she gets the best of both worlds. A lot of these I haven't seen. A lot of these Gene haven't seen. So it's a way for you to bond, see some old shit, laugh at the 80s and 90s, and find a hidden gem like I always recommend, Blood In, Blood Out.
All right. Thanks, Ronnie, for your email. Next up, we have one from Dan about Near Dark. It's a hypothesis. And Dan says, assuming there are vampire communities, as Ash pointed out, most of them are careful with their money and blood intake. They probably live in major cities where unsolved murders are common. If that's true, they probably all have to live by strict rules and ensure their lifestyles. Since your personality doesn't change, there got to be some real dumbass psychos. I present Jesse Hooker and company. They tried the city thing, then realized they don't like the rules, so they went out in the desert where they could do as they please. As the immortal Canadian rock star Ramon McGuire saying, "We're here for a good time, not a long time. Keep up the good work, Dan."
So I think the thing you have to take into account is the time in history that you were a vampire. Back in the day, a couple hundred years ago, it'd be easy. You go in, wipe out a village, kill people, be reckless, do whatever the hell you want. But now, if you had vampires today, cell phones, everybody's got a damn door cam, you're going to get caught. You have to be smart. So maybe what worked 300 years ago doesn't work today for a vampire.
I just imagine vampires like stealing Amazon packages off doorsteps.
Yes.
They're so fast.
Put the delivery in the box. Put it in the box.
Thanks, Dan, for your email. Next, we have one from Mike from Massachusetts. And Big D, this one is directed to you. It's about The Craft. And Mike writes, longtime listener, infrequent caller, frequent laugher, and occasional growler. I want to champion Big D's perspectives on The Craft. His observations on the lack of a real friendship between the girls deserves more credit than received. The girls don't share any qualities of friendship other than the link of their coven. Each girl is left to fight her individual battles, poverty, abuse, racism, body shaming, on their own without any support from their friends. And we could do that on Twitch. We could do it's fun.
Yeah, the air quotes.
Yeah. Claiming that this is what friendships are like after the age of 12 demeans the existence of true friendships in high school. I was surrounded by people who were friends, but didn't act like friends other than sharing proximate activities regularly. Is this the norm? Should it be labeled as friendship? I question that. Once again in this episode, I am struck by Big D's thoughtful analysis and give him props for going against the grain of conversation. Nancy is a worse person than Chris, as well as other examples from the episode I could point out, but I'm trying to be brief. Do I always agree with Big D? Hell no. But I frequently do, and I feel like his insights, when deviating from majority opinion, are received derisively a little too often. I love you both, Ash and Gene. I know you get hate, Ash, but you're a great part of the team. I do wish you could both step back in those moments when Big D takes a contrarian view and give it more weight and or validity. Note, that does not mean agree with him, smiley face emoji, but there is nothing wrong with saying something akin to, I feel like this is Dances with Wolves. Yeah. My brother, I see your point, or I hadn't considered that before, or you make a good argument, but I eagerly await your next episode as always. Mike from Massachusetts. P.S. I wish I had a movie like The Craft in '84. I could have been a goth, but I never knew that was a thing until I got out of my sleepy conservative backwoods racist high school. Les sigh.
Well, thank you for that comment. You know, the two of them when they're together, sometimes I can feel like I'm crazy, but they're normally respectful. They laugh at me and they can, kind of push me off, and I think like maybe I'm a bit crazy, but when I get some affirmation, they look like shitty friends. But again, maybe I'm not female. I didn't grow up with female friends, so I don't know. Maybe that's it. I don't do that to my friends. If a guy is down, if a guy is hurt, I'm going to be there for him and not just stab him in the back.
Yeah, I think on that episode we were saying it's a form of friendship, not like the best, friendship. I think
that's not a form of friendship.
It's a form of okay. Like here's the deal.
A toxic friendship.
Was it toxic? It turned toxic.
They're torturing their friend. And they're gonna kill her, and they're just manipulating. They're mean. They make fun of each other.
After Manon got involved.
No, they're bad people.
Yeah,
they're as bad as the cool kids in high school. That was my thought.
They're not that bad. But I see your point. I just disagree.
Thank you. I feel seen.
All right, thanks, Mike from Massachusetts. Next up, we have another one about The Craft. This one comes from Todd in Indiana. He says, hello, Shat Crew. I first discovered the podcast in early 2020, and I've been a huge fan ever since. You guys have definitely made my workdays a little easier as I went back and listened to older episodes, and I'm always very excited when the new ones drop on Wednesday morning. I just had to reach out after listening to the Craft episode and let you know how much I enjoyed it. That movie came out when I was a senior in high school, and it's always held a special place in my heart. It's one of those movies that I wore out the VHS copy, and I automatically would throw it on if I see it appear on the cable guide. So I was super stoked to see it pop up on my podcast app this morning. I absolutely love how much Gene and Ash adored this movie, and they pretty much represent my feelings about it. But I also appreciated Big D's take as well. Also, I just wanted to throw it out there that I'm one of the silent majority that truly appreciates Ash's movie perspective, and I definitely don't understand the negativity that gets thrown her way. I think the Big D, Gene, and Ash version of the pod is definitely my favorite, and I just want to say, keep up the good work. Love you all. Todd in Indiana.
Todd, thank you. And I want to remind you all, including Gene, I liked The Craft. I thought the movie The Craft was fun and entertaining. I did not like the take that you two had on it. So my problem was you two and not the movie. The Craft was fun. It was fun. It was a better version of The Lost Boys. It was fun.
I think he said that verbatim on the episode. My problem is not with this movie. My problem is with you two.
With you two. That's exactly what I said, yes.
All right.
You two are the problem.
Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, this one's for me. It's about Teen Wolf. It comes from our friend Niagara Jeff. He says, excellent podcast. It had a ton of energy and real love for the nostalgia of the film. Gene, normally we seem divergent in taste, but you defended Teen Wolf much like Big D defended Red Dawn, and I appreciate that. So basically it means without any sort of logic, just blind faith. In terms of getting alcohol, in Canada up until a few years ago, you could only get booze from two places, the liquor store and the beer store. And yes, they are literally called that. It was impossible to get booze as an underager. They always carted. So when I was walking my dog and Big D shared his story about drinking beer in the grocery store aisle, I started laughing uncontrollably at the thought of Big D hiding tall cans behind the Lucky Charms. Amazing. Keep up the good work. Niagara, the better side of the falls. Jeff.
I think they were actually Zima. That's how pathetic we were. They were bottles of Zima. And if you're not over 40, you won't know what it is. It was like a clear, like trendy It was the only thing that we could get and open without being caught.
It was like a Smirnoff Ice, basically.
A much worse. It was like
was it
Smirnoff.
worse?
Yes.
I mean, it's been years. I don't really.
What are those like like the sodas that everybody drinks?
The White
that are
Claws?
no, non-alcoholic. The ones that are like a soda water, but they're like trendy, like bubble. Like what the hell is it? What are those things called?
Oh, like
Damn it,
LaCroix?
whatever. Yes, it's
Okay.
like LaCroix if it was alcoholic. It's just not taste. The taste is bad. The alcohol percentage wasn't that high, and it was just something cool to be different in the beer market.
They had the guy with the hat that would be like, Zima's Spectacular. Do you remember that guy?
Yeah, I can't believe it didn't work out.
Very 90s. It was the Crystal Pepsi of alcohol. All right. Well, Niagara Jeff wrote back again to tell us about a cool project that he's doing. So I wanted to just give it a little announcement here on the pod and also on the Twitch stream. He says, "Hey guys, I just want to thank you for your efforts and the content you've been sharing for the past few years. You truly have inspired my friends and I north of the border. Recently, we began screening movies at a local theater and have started a small podcast to build our community up here in Ontario, Canada. We call ourselves Cinema Time Capsule. Here's what we are doing. Thanks in large part to your inspiration. All the best, Niagara Falls, the better side of the falls, Jeff." And so he's on Apple Podcasts now. So guys, I've checked it out. It's actually very, very good. So Cinema Time Capsule on Apple Podcasts. Do check it out. And I think it's so cool. One of those opportunities that Big D and I don't have is, if we lived in the same city, and King B and I kind of discussed doing this at one point. It would be so cool to have a local theater where maybe once a month we could screen a Shat movie with the Shat crew and kind of gather people there. And just because that's one of the things I think we're missing, kind of getting to what you guys were talking about, Scruff Kingman and AZ, about watching a movie in a home theater, like experiencing some of these movies in a theater as they were meant to be seen. Dances with Wolves, I think, is a good example, would be, I think, a drastically different experience.
Yeah, even just watching Rocky Horror Picture with you and Sarah was great. And I was always jealous when it was Roger, you, Kerry, I think King B went to see Labyrinth.
Yeah.
It was like the 30th anniversary or whatever. And the story of you guys in the front row and Roger with his snacks. And like that makes me jealous, and I think we should do that. If there is like some anniversary coming up and they re-release it, I would come out to Arizona to see it. Or maybe we meet in Texas and we just show up at Ash's door. And we go to Cineplex.
Ash probably has a home theater. She probably got one like Tony Soprano.
Without
it's got like
a doubt.
the loungers and all that. Yeah.
Yes.
Death Dak says, "My wife loved Zima back in the day. She hardly drinks anything these days. Probably because she drank Zima."
Yeah, it's definitely not good for you.
Not great. All right, so that's all from Niagara Falls. Jeff, thanks so much for writing in. Next up, we have two about Muriel's wedding, and the first one comes from Greg. He says, "I enjoyed the Muriel's wedding review. Big D. This reminds me of the line from As Good as It Gets, where a sycophantic fan asks Jack Nicholson's character, 'How are you able to write female characters so well?' To which he replies, 'It's easy. I write them just like a man, but I remove all reason and accountability.' I laughed out loud in the theater, but quickly realized not everyone found that line as funny as I did. It's funny not because it's sexist, well, maybe a tad, but more because it's so often rooted in truth. Arguing with Ash that Muriel should be behaving in an ethically consistent manner versus Ash's constant rebuttal that Muriel's behavior is excusable because she's in denial or some other emotional crisis illustrates this point perfectly. Your argument should have been to flip this. If a man behaved in as toxic a manner as Muriel does, would Ash excuse that so readily based on her empathy for the character? Obviously not. Look at how little quarter she's afforded Muriel's father, whose behavior was arguably less toxic than his daughter's. Anyway, for a comedy, lots of darkly complex stuff to mine here, and the two of you did a fantastic job as always, complete with the unsolicited burns on your former hosts. Love it. Keep up the great work. Greg."
Okay, so Greg, that was much more articulate than I could do that day. The father, because Gene, did you watch it? Or
I
know
not.
you do weren't
I
on the
did
case.
not.
Okay, so for people's backgrounds, the dad, he's a local politician. He's cheating on the wife. He's a little absent. He always gets on his kids because they have no motivation. They sit around, they can't even cut the grass. But he supports their education, anything they will do to better themselves and get out of the house, become a productive member of society. He will do. Money, he doesn't care. He does it. He's not very loving. So Ash equated this to like the worst form of abuse possible. So when Muriel goes out there and advances that abuse on other people, paralyzed friends, random salespeople, she is a bad person. If she was a man, she would not be endearing. People would hate Muriel and not think it's cute. And at the end, there's no affirmation, there's no breakthrough, there's nothing she learned. Nothing. She didn't accomplish a single thing, but yet, because it is a female empowerment movie, she's portrayed as she's overcome something. What? She didn't do shit. She's a bad person.
Yeah, one of the things that we should really, that I've learned at least through all the movies we've done 300 something of them, is that some characters aren't meant to be likable. And if a character is portrayed as unlikable or a villain or a bad person, then it's okay to dislike the character, but like the film because it's executed well. Where we get into some rough territory is when the person is presented as triumphant or the protagonist or the hero, and not even like in a charming anti-hero way, but just in like saying like, hey, like, isn't she fun? Isn't she quirky? And the behavior is like pretty toxic. Another thing is I always, I talk about with alcohol, right? When people get like drunk, it also applies in ways to like emotional trauma. A person gets drunk, they behave erratically, and you don't forgive that behavior because they're drunk. They chose to get drunk. Like that was like, if like me, I know I black out. So I gotta set a hard limit for myself in drinking because I will black out or I could brown out. Right? I function like a normal person, but I don't remember any of it the next day. And so people will be like, "Oh, that was really funny when we went to Taco Bell and you ordered whatever." Like I didn't know we went to Taco Bell this morning. I didn't know how I ended up in the living room.
Okay, Gene, you being drunk at Taco Bell is not abusing your disabled mother and convincing her to write blank checks so you could steal $12,000 to go on vacation that leads to your mother's breakdown and later suicide. And then Muriel at the end is smiling in the cab, driving away with her paralyzed friend to some unforeseen future to happy ABBA music.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that clever when I'm blacked out. No. Hey, Gaz, good to see you, man. It's been a long time. All right, so thanks for that one, Greg. Next up, we have another one about Muriel's wedding. This one comes from Gemma, and she says, I am too upset by Big D's complete misunderstanding of this film to even elaborate, except to say that Ash is 100% correct. Okay, I'll elaborate a little bit. Muriel is redeemed by the end. It is a feminist movie. Porpoise Spit, while looking amazing to my cold Canadian ass, is a shithole by Australian standards. It's not that it's ugly or it doesn't have beautiful beaches, it's that it's small-minded. And yes, the dad is an abusive piece of shit. His wife and kids are that way because of him. Also, you've never heard of sex after funerals or during grief? Just what? I wish Gene had been here to offer some more balance. My take of Big D from this episode is that he's always been lucky enough to be the cool kid. Anyway, rant, and that comes from Gemma.
No, I was the fat nerdy kid who couldn't get laid until I was in my 20s. So no, I that is completely false. Completely false. And whatever, I respect your opinion. I do. I respect Ash. I can't, just to me, I don't understand. Muriel is far more abusive to her mother and her best friend than Muriel's father ever was to his children.
I feel like I have to watch it now just to weigh in.
Please do.
All right.
Please do.
All right. I'll put it on the docket.
It's worth it. It is worth it to watch because there is an epic, let's just say, girl on girl fight to ABBA karaoke that is, it makes it worth it just for that.
Well, thank you, Greg and Gemma, for your Muriel's wedding emails. Big D, we're getting into the good stuff now. Ooh. I mean, not that the other stuff wasn't good stuff, but this is good. This is your good stuff.
Yeah.
This one is about Flash Gordon. Ray writes in, and he says, both the Art Deco aesthetics of the rocket ships and the city, as well as certain character designs, are derived from the 1930s film serials, themselves taken from colorful comic strips. Flash Gordon intentionally emulates these somewhat outdated stylistic elements for artistic purposes, as opposed to striving for a modern, realistic, or gritty interpretation like Star Wars, which was influenced by 2001: A Space Odyssey and World War II fighter plane combat footage. George Lucas was greatly inspired by the Flash Gordon serials, even adopting the iconic opening crawl for Star Wars. While Star Wars is undeniably more philosophically profound and has had a greater legacy, drawing from various sources such as Westerns, Tolkien, Dune, and samurai films, in addition to Flash Gordon is nonetheless pure, unadulterated fun. It knows it's a little silly, and it doesn't care. It boasts captivating visuals and music and shares its writer, Lorenzo Semple, with the 1966 Batman series, another pop art triumph that favored a colorful, stylized approach over realism. Just as one can enjoy the gritty, realistic Batman films while appreciating the 1966 show's vibrant and knowingly corny comic-inspired world, Flash Gordon should not be dismissed as some sort of cheap failure. Like Batman 66 and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Flash Gordon is a successful celebration of colorful, campy, captivating entertainment. Truly a feast for the eyes and the ears. It is a classic. Best regards, Ray.
I agree, and I think he said it all. But we can't compare this to the Star Wars. It was going for something different. On the cast, I think I compared it to the Rocketeer, something that tried to emulate the original source material. I like the designs; they don't make sense. Like the psychedelic, the colors, the use of the costumes. They made an effort, and it was going to be different. It was either going to be a huge hit or fail, and it failed. But man, it is such a unique film.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I think that a lot of these things, I can appreciate what it is they're attempting, but it's just like you have to have the enjoyment factor, though, right? And that's the part where kind of falls off for me, because I'm like, did I actually enjoy the movie? And we'll get into that actually in the Muppet movie, because the Muppet movie, I think they put a shit ton of work into that, right? We're recording that tonight, by the way, so it'll be out in a couple weeks. They put a shit ton of work into that movie, but there were times where I'm just like, hey, this is kind of dragging a little bit. Like, it's just that X factor, that something, that enjoyment factor where, I don't feel that Flash Gordon had it. Now the parts where it shined, when that Queen soundtrack is blasting,
Oh, fuck yes.
and they're coming in on their space jet skis, like that's great. The Hawkmen assembling and spelling thanks,
yes.
that's awesome.
Yes.
But on that note though, I think that there's parts of Star Wars that drag, where I'm kind of like, okay, could something fucking happen here?
Well, little early tidbit here, Gene. You're not even aware I did this. I watched the Muppet movie twice. Yesterday, I watched it with Emma and then recorded like a 6-minute podcast review with Emma. She had some good insight.
Like what?
For the Muppet movie.
Yeah, I
The
know.
Muppet movie.
But what kind of
She
insight?
goes, Dad,
Give us some taste.
she goes, that's really weird. It's a movie where we're watching people in a movie make a movie about a movie. She goes, that is really weird. And I was like, good job. You're onto it. And she also had a problem with Gonzo's, his lust after the chicken. She thought that was a bit weird.
Oh, and Camilla's sexy.
He objectifies all chickens. And
Yeah,
she was okay with the frog-pig relationship, But yeah, she had some good takes. So we'll see. I'll add that as a stinger to the end of the real podcast.
All right, we have eclipsed 20 viewers. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for gathering. We've still got plenty to go, so we'll move on to another Flash Gordon email. This one comes from Steve in Denver, and he says, Shat Crew, I loved the show on Flash Gordon. I was 9 when this gem was released in summer of 1980, and like Big D, I too saw this at the drive-in. Divorced parents and my dad's buddy ran the local drive-in, so free tickets. I was a huge Star Wars fan. I saw it 6 or 7 times, yes, mostly at the drive-in, and I was so excited for Flash Gordon. I remember being in awe watching the big flashy backgrounds and loved the Hawkmen. Have always been a huge movie fan and was a projectionist at AMC for 5 years during high school and college. Flash forward to 2020, and our family started COVID Family Movie Night, which, with the express purpose of introducing my kids, 16-year-old daughter and 12-year-old son at the time, to the classic movies of our youth. They loved most of the movies. Flash Gordon was not one of them, although my daughter loved the Queen soundtrack. This was too campy for them. Oh well, youth is lost on the young. Keep up the great work on the podcast. Shat on, and that comes from Steve in Denver.
Yeah, see, and I don't know what people expected, because I don't remember the marketing, how they set the film up, whether they set it up to fail. But I only remember it from word of mouth and from being on TV, and you'd run home and watch it. And we embraced it and thought it was cool and fun. At the same time, we liked Star Wars. So I don't know why it failed, other than the support from the studio, because there was the issues.
I wanted to call out something Steve wrote about that has nothing to do with Flash Gordon, but it was the divorced parents in the movie theater thing. It fascinates me. Now, I grew up without a dad, but my friends who had divorced parents, you always hear like how the divorce is, really hits the kids hard, and I'm not saying that's not true, but in most of the interactions that I observed, it was like kids are much more focused on like what's in it for me, right? And so like my friend David, he thought it was really dope that his parents would separately get him gifts or take him out or do whatever. And we were always concerned with like the upside of things, right? Like kids are oddly optimistic. Again, from my observation, Big Dad might be way off on this, but it's like like that. Hey, parents are divorced, but my dad's friend owns the drive-in, so I just get to go see more movies.
Yeah, I think as a kid you're more optimistic, but I've also seen kids manipulate the situation, knowing they can leverage each of the parents against each other to increase whatever they're getting or what they want, and a lot of those kids turn out a little fucked up.
CEOs, accountants. Thanks, Steve, for your email. Next up, we have one about Red Dawn. Comes from BC.
Oh, yeah, Wolverines.
I just started listening to the podcast, scrolled through, found a Red Dawn one. I love this movie. I was 12, and it definitely led me to a 22-year career in the Marine Corps. Hearing the lady say, read the Communist Manifesto, communism isn't scary, that was it. I was out. I know it doesn't matter, big picture that I left, but that lady is an ignorant troll. The Communist Manifesto supporter using capitalism to make money and have her voice heard. Pure stupidity. And that comes from BC. So I'm guessing that lady in this case is Ash.
I think so. I think so. But man, I have never been so upset by somebody's opinion that I would just dismiss it and turn it off. I like having weird friends who have like diverse thoughts. As long as you can make a coherent argument, I'll listen to anyone. And I think a diverse thought is not a bad thing.
The funny thing is also when people are like, well, you're a communist, but you're using capitalism to get by. Yeah, that's where we live, dude. Like that's where we live. Like if I decided today, like, nope, I'm a socialist now. I don't do money. I mean, I am a socialist, but I also exist in a capitalist society and economy, and so that's actually really not fully capitalist anyway. But point being is that we also have to like. It's like when people were talking when Rage Against the Machine was like doing tours making tons of money. Like, well, how can they do that? They're anti-capitalist. Well, yeah, dude, they got to eat though, and they need houses and cars and all that shit to like function.
A strange thing now. I feel like everybody is now like segmenting themselves. Everybody's got a team, and everybody's now like team oriented. I'm on team this, and I hate team that, and that is such to me a new creation. I don't ever remember before people identifying or having the need to identify as much or as hardcore. You could identify it, but now you just hate people like to fight. People don't want to get along. It is, I don't know, whatever. I'm old man on the porch screaming at the clouds, but there's no longer the fun of debate. It used to be kind of families could have a talk.
Yeah, it should be Dances with Wolves.
Yes, we'll sit around, smoke
get
a
everybody
pipe.
in the lodge.
You listen to the old people.
Mm-hmm.
You just when Gene says something, I go,
Yeah,
that's it.
that's all you got to do.
Yes, that's all we gotta do, people.
But anyway, BC, I hope you
Pass the peace pipe.
I hope you're still listening.
No, he's not. There's no way he's listening. If Red Dawn was the final straw, he hasn't gotten to some of the other ones.
True.
There's no way he stayed. And that one wasn't even that bad. I mean, that was her one comment.
So now
you guys just hated that it was like gung ho, fuck yeah, America. I think that was the issue.
Well, that brings us to our next one. So we're shifting gears now from movies that we've done to requests for commissions, and there are a ton of these. But this one is oddly related to Red Dawn, and this one comes from Kane. He says, I've been a fan for a few months now. I was wondering if at any point you could get around to watching the infamous World War II movie, Come and See. It's said to be the scariest film of all time, despite not being a horror movie. It would be interesting to see what you two think of it. Thanks. Regards, Kane. And so for people who haven't seen Come and See, I feel like it's what kind of sours me on Red Dawn, because Come and See is like Red Dawn, but terrifying. And it's about a kid in fighting Nazi occupation. Not really. I mean, he's a partisan, right? He joins up with the partisans, and it kind of has that Red Dawn feel of like kids exposed to this the horrors and atrocities of war, but it's much more mature, much scarier. I would love to do Come and See.
Just if you Google it, all the pictures that come up are of like a terrified looking child
Yeah.
with a gun to their head. There is no, like, yeah, this would be a very different movie. But yeah, again, we're open to different movies because that's where we found some of our best.
Yeah, Red Dawn was oddly absent, like gang rapes, villagers just being executed in mass graves. Actually, not even buried, just dumped out in the open. You know, people being set on fire. Like, just saying, maybe come and see Big D, and then see if that adjusts your view on Red Dawn and what a cinematic classic it is.
It's fun. Red Dawn wasn't supposed to be.
Come and see is not fun.
No, that's what I mean.
Right.
Red Dawn was like an amusement park ride.
Right.
Right? Do you think there's a sense of danger, like you might die on the roller coaster? No, it's just exciting. You get the pre-show, you get some of the plot, woo! Then it comes to the end, you're like, wow, that was fun. It didn't make you
Avenge
think too long.
me.
Yes, avenge me.
Anyway, all right, moving on. Thanks, Kane, for the suggestion. So come and see Big D. We have to consider that one. Next up, moving right along.
Oh, do we have to give people like answers now?
I mean, I guess we can. Yeah, you want to do that one?
Dude, I say almost no to nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that movie looks like it's gonna make me sad.
Oh, it's gonna make you very sad.
I don't want to be sad.
There's a
So I'm
couple
gonna
here
say
that are
no.
gonna be incredibly uncomfortable.
No, I'm gonna say no because just the pictures alone. There's a kid covering his ears like he's screaming and hiding. Like
Yeah,
"Ah."
it's a lot of that.
No, I don't think this movie will make me feel good. So I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
No, I've limited days left in my life. I come as you are. I think I'll be okay without.
All right, maybe Kane, maybe Ash, and I'll take that one as a side project, just without Big D.
No, not me.
Next up, we have one from Chris Liu. It says, hey, hosts. First, let me say you guys are awesome. The movie I'd like to know if you could review is, of course, Zorro the Gay Blade. Thank you for what you guys do. Please take care,
Wow.
Chris. I like the of course in this one. Of course it's Zorro the
Wow.
Gay Blade.
Man, is that George Hamilton?
I think so,
That
yeah.
looks fantastic. Oh wow! That's a movie. I think that would make me feel good. Because there's two different Zorros in it. There's like Zorro, and then there's like his alter ego, and they both look gay. But the Gay Blade looks really gay. It looks fantastic.
It'd be a very interesting look into the treatment of a gay character in 1981.
But wait, is he literally gay, or is he like the Happy Blade, or is he like
Oh, no.
homosexual?
No.
He's homosexual.
I
I think it means like he's the Happy Blade.
I don't
I'm
think
Zorro.
so.
Okay, so I'm going to read. So Zorro, the legendary swordman, has passed on his weapon and his sense of duty to his noble son Diego, a dashing swashbuckler like his father. But an injury sidelines Diego, and it forces the hand of the master to come and return. Nothing in there says he's homosexual. I think it's the
his
gay.
gay cousin.
Where do you see gay cousin?
That's what the movie's about.
No, it's his son. The Zorro passes the blade on in duty to his swashbuckling son, but then something happens to him, and Zorro's got to come back.
I thought he had a gay cousin.
Oh, you're just come on, you're projecting that.
No.
The gay. This is like the old English gay.
No, it's not.
Like this is yes, it's a happy blade. I will
I
kill
don't
you,
think
my
so.
happy blade. But I don't think there's any homosexuals. What do you think? Like Zorro's gonna ride on horseback,
I just
like
thought-
Putin with some other hot dude, and they're gonna like ride off into the sunset.
No.
Like he's gonna make love with the mask.
No, the dude's character. The character's name is Bunny Wigglesworth.
Are we? We're looking at two different films here.
Oh my God.
Is this from 1981?
Yeah.
I do
Can
not.
people
think
weigh
that-
in the chat, please? Anybody who's seen
No.
Zorro the Gay Blade?
No, I really think it means Zorro the Happy Blade.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm gonna put homosexual.
Homosexual.
Yeah, nothing comes up as gay. You're just totally seeing all that shit.
Oh my God.
Nothing is saying homosexual.
It-
Nothing. Oh wait, hold on. I found one. His brother is known as Bunny Wigglesworth.
Yeah.
And the addition being very okay. So is brother? I
Oh,
guess?
I'm sorry. It's his brother, not his cousin.
Yeah, but he's not Zorro.
No.
It's the gay. It was Zorro the Gay Blade and the gay and homosexual cousin. He's not Zorro.
No, George
Sorry.
Hamilton?
Yes.
He plays both of them. They're twins.
Oh, we have to do this. This is a yes. This is a yes.
Clearly, we comprehend what's going on in this film.
We have to uncover. We have to
Yeah,
open this.
we have to get to the bottom of this.
Get the heart.
Ah.
Yes. Oh yes.
All right, moving on from Zorro. So Chris, yeah. So if you're keeping track at home, come and see. No. Zorro the Gay Blade. Yes.
Hell yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Next up, we have one from Ryan C. Not the Ryan C, but another Ryan C. He says, "Hi, Shat Crew, longtime listener and fan Ryan C here. I'd like to commission my first movie review, and before sending in payment via Venmo," I guess he just assumes we're doing it, "I want to make sure that my selection is appropriate." Okay, there we go. "And not already taken, but not yet added to the calendar. I'd like to commission the 1999 Bond film, The World Is Not Enough. By no means an Oscar caliber choice, but I think it's a movie that can make for a fun review. Please let me know when you get a chance, and I'll Venmo the funds. Thanks for your time, and more importantly, all the work you put into making such a great podcast." And that comes from Ryan C.
Okay, so this is again where my brain is starting to go, because that is the one with what was Charlie Sheen's ex-wife? What was her name?
I have no idea.
Come on, yes
I
you
don't
do.
know
from
celebrity shit.
Wild at Heart, Wild, whatever the Matt.
Oh,
Damon,
Denise Richards.
Denise Richards.
Yeah.
So that I would have bet money if you asked me that we did the one with Denise Richards, but we didn't. We did Goldeneye.
We Goldeneye.
Denise Richards here plays, I think it's Christmas Jones, and she's the dumbest Bond girl ever.
But she's the
From what I
doctor.
remember. Yes, but she's dumb. She's dumb.
She's like Dr. Daniel.
She's dumb. Yes, I believe that Dr. Daniel. Yeah, no, she's not trying to have sex with everybody. I would do this definitely. Bond makes for good reviews.
Yeah, it really does. Between the gadgetry and the overall horniness of the series, I think that any Bond movie makes for an excellent one. And Pierce Brosnan, I like him as a Bond.
The one we watched with the big telescope in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
wasn't
Goldeneye.
Was that Goldeneye?
Yeah.
What was her special move?
She crushed your head between her legs.
Yeah,
I think.
Her name wasn't Alata Vagina, was it?
No.
Was that her name? What was her name?
Let me see.
On top. On the top. On the top.
No, on
On the top. Yes, her name was on the top.
Is it really?
I will get. I'm not cheating. I'm not googling this.
Yeah.
Her name was like Anna something on the top.
Oh yeah, Zinnia on the top. Yeah, it's Famke Janssen. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alata Vagina. That's something in my head. That's not a real one.
A lot of vagina. No, you're thinking of Austin Powers.
Oh, Austin Powers.
Yeah. Ivana Hump a lot.
I want to have
A lot.
This
of
is where the
vagina.
podcast deteriorates. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, Ryan C. It sounds like World Is Not Enough is approved. All right. Next up, we have one from Jesse. Oh, this is a classic. He says, "I wanted to run a few movies by you. First, I admit that I'm a bit of an obscurist. I enjoy the hidden gems and weird stuff more than blockbusters, generally. My number one contender right now is a movie close to my heart. It is a lesser-known sex comedy from 1981 called The Last American Virgin. The amount of content gold in this movie is staggering. The gags mostly hold up. The music is a perfect mix of 80s new wave, Cars, Devo, etc., and an incredibly engaging story with one of the wildest endings in cinematic history. I cannot emphasize enough that if I choose this movie, hosts should avoid spoilers and research until after watching if they want to dig deeper. I have a few more mainstream suggestions that I could toss out. De Palma's Blowout, The Peanut Butter Solution, a Canadian kids classic. Again, that sounds like a porn. The Fabulous Stains, an early 80s punk movie. Something Wild, and several beloved canon films, but I think I have my heart set on Last American Virgin. Hit the trailer, let me know the cost, the date it might happen, and any other details I'm neglecting. Oh, and if you're willing to review this one, cheers, and thanks for all you do, Jesse."
So this was originally commissioned way back, and then I forget who it was who did it. I'm sorry. They switched to Valley Girl. So we had already said yes. So definitely, I think we will do this. If you look at the poster, it is like an 80s American Pie. There is a pair of jeans, which it's opened up. There's a cool guy in a jean jacket, a girl like, hey, and then their friends behind in T-shirts. So I'm imagining an American Pie coming of age, guy trying to get laid film. I'd be all for it.
So, Jesse, I kind of broke the rules in that I've already seen The Last American Virgin. It was kind of on repeat in my house as a kid, but I haven't done any like internet sleuthing about it. So I don't know any kind of behind the scenes stuff or history stuff. I only know what happens on screen. And it's been, I don't know, the last time I saw it might have been like the late 80s, early 90s. So it's been a good 30 years at least.
Yeah, plus the French girl, the French exchange student from Better Off Dead.
Oh.
She's in it, yeah. Diane Franklin.
Is she a mechanic again?
She's gonna work on a Camaro. She's gonna bring it to life in the yard and turn and teach. What was his name? Come on, Lane Myers. She's gonna teach Lane Myers to ski the Black Diamond.
Lane Myers. All right. Thanks, Jesse, for the commission of The Last American Virgin. We'll get right on it and let you know when it's scheduled. Next up, we have a request for SLC Punk, and that comes from James in Northwest Indiana. Says, greetings, Shat crew. I'm a newer devotee to the Shat world, only having discovered this pod about 9 months ago, and I've been hooked ever since. Born in 83, military brat, former video store clerk. Can you say target demo? I finally decided I have to commission a movie due to the countless hours of entertainment you brought me. I've been grinding through the back catalog as well as keeping up with new episodes. I'm so happy to recently come across an older episode where Gene references the legendary Berlin in Chicago. This was not easy due to 2024 being utterly stacked with bangers. Can't wait for Gattaca. I was able eventually to hone in on the 1998 cult classic SLC Punk starring Matthew Lillard. You're welcome, Ash. This is an incredibly influential movie, which, if my commission is accepted, I can't wait to share my story and history with SLC Punk and how life imitates art. Keep up the amazing work. Much love, James from Northwest Indiana. P.S. I feel bad I didn't mention Big D, so I'll end my letter simply, Wolverines!
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, man, this movie looks good. I mean, Matthew Lillard, it looked like he was going to be a big star, but then you realize that his shtick of the I'm bleeding here got tired, and he didn't become more than just a sidekick. But it looks interesting. I like Salt Lake City, and the story looks interesting. I would definitely be down for this.
Yeah, this could be one that you absolutely love, or it's going to be very divisive in the chat. On the pod, because I'm a big fan of SLC Punk. The ending, I don't want to spoil things, but not a big fan of the ending. But I kind of relate to it in a lot of ways. But yeah, he's great in it. Heroin Bob, one of the characters in SLC Punk, is one of my favorite movie characters. It's a bit tragic. It's very hilarious. Pokes a lot of fun at like the punk scene. And I was at a soccer match last night with a lot of my friends who were punks in the 90s and still are. I mean, like, their values are still punk, their thought is still punk, their musical taste is still punk, but we're in our 40s, and there's some guys who can't let go of the aesthetic, and it's just like it's a real sad thing. And so SLC Punk dives into that a little bit as well. Just like, you don't have to wear plaid pants and have a mohawk and a safety pin through your nose to be a punk rocker. Punk's in your heart, man. Thanks, James, for your email. Next up, we have one from Greg. Oh, man, Big D. It's about cruising. It says, hey, guys, have you ever done the 1980 movie Cruising? William Friedkin is the director. Al Pacino stars. Very controversial movie at the time. Gay activists try to shut down the production when it was being filmed in New York circa 1979. I just bought the Blu-ray version, and they did a great job on the restoration. If you're up to the task, I'll happily pay the commission fee. Big D.
Oh,
Cruising is a must.
Yeah, because I mean, this is when Pacino was young and he cared. This was the hungry Pacino.
This is also like the hungry gay bar culture of the 70s in New York.
Yeah.
This
is like the
real
Serpico Pacino.
deal.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely do this. This looks like a good one. I mean, the quality of the video looks like dog shit.
No.
It looks like you're watching it through like a Vaseline lens because of the quality of the film, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, leather daddies.
Hell yeah.
Dark, dingy bars. Oof.
Fucking bears. There are a lot of bears.
There are bears.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some twinks.
I just throwing out every term now.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Some pegging.
Yeah. Some pegging, yes.
All right, Greg. Sounds like Cruising is in the hopper. We'll do it. Next up, we have one from Todd about Dead Calm. He says, good evening, Shatters. Wanted to look into getting a movie reviewed. You graciously reviewed 3 O'Clock High for my birthday a few years ago. Wanted to know if you'd take a look at Dead Calm, a suspense thriller starring Nicole Kidman, Billy Zane, and Sam Neill.
Yeah, have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay, so they've done some like kind of takes on it recently where it takes place, I think 99% out in the open sea. It is a very limited cast. So from what I remember, Sam Neill, Nicole Kidman, husband and wife, they're out in the water and they come across a young, hot Billy Zane who is on a boat alone, and we had problems, we got stranded, and it's the mystery of, do we save him? What happened? And it's a psychological thriller, and what I like is it's stuck on a ship, so you can't run and hide, you can't get away. The terror is always present when you have somebody unhinged. I would do this in a second.
I mean, you sold me on it. It sounds good. It's one of those strange ones, with the cast like that. I mean, Sam Neill, Nicole Kidman, like that sounds like a movie that everyone should know, especially like from that era. And I honestly never heard of it until you mentioned it. And when you did mention it, I was like, oh, we're talking about like, is that open water, basically? But no.
Yeah. And the Australian Film Institute, this was a 1989 nominee for Best Film, Best Director, Best Screenplay,
Shit.
Best Original Music Score, Best Achievement in Sound. So in Australia, this was a big. There's got to be ABBA involved in some of it.
Just in the middle of the ocean, some ABBA. Moving on from Australia, let's go to New Zealand, and we got an email from Gene, not me, but other Gene in New Zealand. Hello, Shack Crew from New Zealand. As a 52-year-old Kiwi, I stumbled upon your podcast and are not disappointed. Thanks, Gene. So far, all the movies you've reviewed, out of all the movies you've reviewed, there are only 4 that I have not seen. A cinephile I may be, but I am in good company. I love your take on the movies, your analysis, thoughtful banter, and your honesty with us, the listeners, and each other. Being a proud New Zealander, I've noticed a lack of New Zealand directors, and we have had a few over the years. From Mulholland Falls by Lee Tamaori to What Dreams May Come from Vincent Ward, but perhaps the most well-known Kiwi director is Sir Peter Jackson. I would like to propose a review of one of his earlier works, the likes of Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, or Brain Dead to the Frighteners. These may not perhaps be cinematic masterpieces, but as a young Kiwi male, there was nothing better than renting from the local video shop a Peter Jackson flick, as you know that it was going to be a different story. Perhaps a splatter comedy, shock and laugh, and the same, but to a more refined manner in The Frighteners, with a few laughs and jump scares. Thanks for all your consideration, and please keep up the good work. That comes from Gene in New Zealand.
So you know that like sometimes people have repressed memories and they go to therapy and they have something like unlocks the psychological doors open and the memory comes out. This poster, I haven't thought of this movie. It's all flooding back. This is definitely a yes. Imagine you have no idea what it is, right?
Meet the Feebles?
No, Young Einstein.
No, we're not talking about that yet.
Oh,
you jumped ahead.
Oh shit, sorry. Okay, Meet the Feebles.
Yeah, Meet the Feebles.
Okay. Sorry about jumping ahead there. I saw it and I was okay. I have no idea what Meet the Feebles.
The backdrop just fell. They can see everything behind stage.
I've no.
We have notes, guys. We have notes.
No, Mike was writing about Young Einstein. Meet the Feebles? No idea.
Okay, Meet the Feebles. Then we just watched the Muppet movie for tonight's pod. Meet the Feebles is like Muppets if Muppets did crack. I was traumatized by it. So when you were talking about like having these like flashbacks or needing therapy or whatever, and repressed memories, Meet the Feebles was probably one of the biggest disappointments of any film I've ever watched. Now, I did watch it out of the cult classic section of the video store when I was a teenager, so maybe I would appreciate it more now. But if it is as bad as I remember it being, that might not be the one to choose. We might be better off doing something a little more refined, like The Frighteners. I'd be good with that.
The poster has a hippo.
Yeah.
With an M60.
Yeah. There's a lot of.
So that means we have to do it. That means we have to do it.
There's puppets banging.
Why is this even a question?
I mean,
why did they? This should have just been commissioned. Go pay. Come on, you know us, people. The Dark Crystal. That's a no-brainer. Okay. You do it. This looks like Cherry Down on crack.
It's Chili Down.
Chili Down.
So, okay, so all right, Meet the Feebles. You're gonna expose me to this again. It might unlock some repressed horrors from my.
I need to know what brought this hippo, this lovely female hippo, to the edge. She looks like a housewife. She's got her M60. She's out there and she's bringing justice to somebody. I need to know who wronged her.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. So thanks, Jane, for writing in from New Zealand. Back to Australia. Now it's time to talk about Young Einstein. Michael White.
I'm back on track.
Michael White says, "G'day, guys. I'm Michael. Sorry, I shouldn't say his last name. We'll edit that out. So this email reads, "G'day, guys. I'm Michael. I'm emailing from Australia. I'm religiously listening to your podcast and having trouble finding your sister podcast as advertised, Shat on TV. I tried searching for it many times, and I still can't find it. Is there a link or possibly a reason why I can't find it? Maybe I'm typing in the wrong search. I would like to bring forward a movie from the 1980s in Australia called Young Einstein, starring Yahoo Serious. This movie is telling the story of a small country boy who discovers the formula to make bubbles into beer, which then sends him to the mainland of Australia to fight off thieves who want that formula to get rich. Much of an entertaining movie, which is very Aussie with its music and landscapes of the outback, drama and comedy at its Aussie best. Thank you for creating a brilliant content, and I thank you for creating so much brilliant content, and I look forward to each podcast as they get released. Thankful, Michael."
Okay, so I already said everything.
Yeah.
This is. Have you seen this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this
I
is.
love this movie as a kid.
Listeners out there, it's Drop Dead Fred, and like looks like Buckaroo Banzai. It looks like wild, fun, over the top. I would say yes. I think this would be fun.
Yeah, that I remember the hopscotch scene. That one was brilliant. There are like just parts of this movie that are just forever ingrained in my brain. I think I've seen it maybe twice in my lifetime, and not anytime recently. But I was a big. People might not remember this, but in the '90s and like late '80s, Einstein was like a real hot thing. Everybody had that Einstein poster where he's like sticking out his tongue. He's kind of drifted, I feel, in popularity. But back then, I mean, he was the shit. And so
Yeah, everything today is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Everything is, that fucker. Or Bill Nye the Science Guy. Don't worry, Einstein will come back. He'll come back.
All right, so Michael, it sounds like Young Einstein is a yes. Moving on, we're coming to the U.S., landing on our southeastern shores, and it's Tim from Florida who writes in and says, "I'd like to commission the 1995 teen dramedy Angus, based on the short story of not quite the same name. While not as well known as many teen films of the era, it received regular play on TNT during the back half of the 90s, and one of my favorites. From the soundtrack comprised of 90s alternative pop groups like Weezer and Green Day, to performances by the likes of Kathy Bates, George C. Scott, James Vanderbeek, and Ariana Richards, best known as Lexi from Jurassic Park, along with the dudes who played E in Entourage and the Shermanator in American Pie, it's surprising this movie isn't better known, at least as a cult classic. For me, as a middle and high school kid in the 90s, I related to Angus's experience of being on the periphery, feeling like I didn't fit in, crushing on the popular girl, and having to fight back against bullies. Sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. I fought anyway. Screw 'em. As an adult, I recognize that this film has flaws, hasn't aged well in some ways, and I relate now more to the mom and grandfather characters and their family dynamics. All that being said, this is a movie I'll still watch anytime and remember what it was like to wait for that one song to come on the radio, to crush hard on a girl without really knowing her, and to fight through the bullshit that was middle and early high school in search of my moment. 13-year-old me would have given this one wipe. Adult me just hopes you guys don't give it straight fives. Let me know how it suits the pod. I'd love to give you many cash dollars to review it. Sincerely, Tim.
This looks like it would be painful for me. This is... I'm watching the trailer on the side live, and I'm internalizing. I'm not hearing it. His haircut, the way the character looks, James Vanderbeek slapping him in the face in the locker room. This might be my biography.
I've never seen Angus. Oddly enough, like that soundtrack sounds amazing. The cast sounds amazing. I remember hearing about it. I think I put it right in there with Juno. Both were like one-name movies about some kid that I just neglected to watch. But I do love the movies that were made for us as teens, and then watching them as an adult. And like you said, Tim, relating more to the adult characters. It's kind of cool how your perspective changes as you get older. So I'm down to do it.
Yeah, I'll do this for you guys. But the poster makes me sad.
I mean, Young Einstein was basically my childhood.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm smart.
I was lonely.
Yeah. All right, next up we have one from Abby. She says, "Hi, I recently discovered your podcast and become completely obsessed with it. I've listened to all the movies I know, and I'm now starting to listen to ones I've never even heard of, just to hang out with you guys." That's nice, Abby. "I would like to commission a favorite movie from my childhood, but want to be but I want it to be one that'll torture you the least. As a frame of reference, I am 43, born in 1979. I have forced my teenage children to watch all 3 of these multiple times with varying degrees of success. Here are my choices. 1 is The Cutting Edge from 1991. My husband thinks you will hate this one the least. He is probably right. 2 is Troop Beverly Hills from 1989. And 3 is Girls Just Want to Have Fun from 1985. Please let me know which one you'd prefer, and I'll pay the fee. Thanks for all the entertainment, Abby.
Oh, it has to be The Cutting Edge. It has to be The Cutting Edge.
What is that one?
The Cutting Edge. Well, do you remember the Will Ferrell and the guy from Napoleon Dynamite? They did that movie. We're skating to one song and one song.
Oh, Blades of
only.
Glory, yeah.
Blades. Okay, so it's like, of course, it's the tough guy hockey player who gets an injury. Oh, he's derailed. He can't go to the NHL anymore. Swear to God. So then he's the troublemaker. He's the bad boy. And then there's the girl who loses her skating partner. And they're gonna turn the bad boy into the figure skating partner, and they're gonna go make the Olympic team. So it's about her learning to forgive and to transform him. And spoiler alert, people, they fall in love. I don't know if you would see that coming, but they fall in love. And I don't know if they win gold, but I know they try.
So is it a comedy or is it a
Yes.
a romantic?
Yeah, it's a romantic comedy. It's about just a fish out of water. It's a hockey player becoming a figure skater learning to, kind of understand the hockey player mentality. She's been having certain types of partner. He's the bad boy. So it's something.
So 2 of 4 says I love Troop Beverly Hills. It's cookie time. I'm surprised you didn't go with your known love of military movies. Troop Beverly Hills, Goldie Hawn.
Aren't they Girl Scouts?
Oh, is that what that is? What was the one where Goldie?
I don't
she's
know.
In the army or
I thought
whatever.
Troop Beverly Hills, they're Girl Scouts.
Oh well, I mean the cookie time.
You're thinking about
What was
Private Benjamin.
Private Benjamin. Oh, Troop Beverly Hills was the
Yeah, they're Girl
the
Scouts.
one with like
right?
Tori Spelling in it.
Yeah, they're Girl Scouts.
Oh yeah, fuck
but,
that.
But
I don't care about
so what's her name? Four Rough. What is that?
2 of 4.
Okay, so 2 of 4.
It's Nancy.
Just know we do have Captain Ron coming up. No, not what's the one? It was what the hell is it? Yeah, it's Captain. No, it's.
I think we do have Captain Ron coming up.
We have Captain Ron, but where Goldie Hawn is like the stuck up. She hires Kurt Russell as the
Captain
is
Ron.
That, I don't think that's Captain Ron.
It's not?
Overboard.
Oh.
It's Overboard. We're doing Overboard.
Wait, isn't Kurt Russell also in Captain Ron?
He is, but he's got an eye patch. It's something different.
They're
So
like,
yeah, we're
guy,
doing
this is too
Overboard.
much like Overboard. He's like, how about now?
Overboard is on the schedule.
Okay. I put up a poll to see who's seen The Cutting Edge, and we've got it's 50-50 right now. I just made it 67-33 by saying no. So, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna counteract that, and I'm gonna say yes.
What? Oh, you only got 5 seconds. So, oh man.
Yeah.
Ah, he got me.
50-50.
Look at that. Aren't we
Democracy.
we're having fun now? All right. Communism. It's not so bad. Okay, next up we have one from Adam F, and this one is about A Knight's Tale. He says, I'm not sure if this has been commissioned, but this movie is what made me fall in love with Heath Ledger. It hits so many levels, and with the end and at the beginning by saying, what's your name? How can that not bring a tear or two to your eyes? It's a classic, and I'm going to look up and see if it's on the list. That comes from Adam F., a longtime listener. A Knight's Tale. I love how historically inaccurate this movie is. And what's her face in this movie is a knockout. It's 2001 though. Should point
Laura
that out.
Fraser?
Try to slip
Kate?
that one in there. Is that her name?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
It's no,
Kate?
Shannon Sossaman.
Ooh, she's saucy. Let's take a look at this. Is she as hot as the? Let's see. Come on, give me some pictures.
You don't know Shannon
Oh yeah,
Sossaman?
she's definitely a gene type. Definitely. Gene
Yeah,
type.
she's in Warpaint too.
She is.
The kick-ass.
I do remember the thing that this movie got flack for is that it is a medieval story, but with a modern soundtrack.
Oh yeah, and they do the dance scenes are all like
Oh, choreographed. Right?
yeah, and everything's hip. It's very hip. Very hip. But hey, we
Yeah,
got a lot of love in the chat though. NLE Page says
Yeah.
love A Knight's Tale. 2 of 4 says love A Knight's Tale.
Gene, we got to realize the 1980s movies, half the people have died who saw this. So if we get
not
closer to the 2000s, they have. They don't know how to work podcasts. So yes, I would okay this one. And Ash isn't going to say no to Heath Ledger.
No, Ash should be 100% in on Knight's Tale.
Yeah, I would do this.
Man, that
You see, we're kicking the door open, Gene.
Wide open.
Kick that fucking thing open.
Ay. All right, Adam F. Sounds like you're gonna get it. Next up, oh man, I'm gonna put this one up to a poll. I'm putting this one up to a poll for sure. Okay, so give me 1 second while I create this poll. So guys, if you haven't done the polls before, it's gonna pop up in your chat. You can click; doesn't cost you anything. And I want to see what you guys think about which movie we should do here. Just put up the question: which should we do? And we've got the options are Soul Man and Meaning of Life, and they're both very likely to get Big D in a lot of trouble. So I'll go ahead and start the poll. All right, and here is the email. This one comes from Jim, a good friend of the pod. He says, hey, Soul Man or Monty Python Meaning of Life? Let me know if you accept one for now, and I'll Venmo the money. And this is my buddy Jim that I play Destiny 2 with, so we know he's good for it. But Soul Man is just running away with it right now.
100%.
Now, if you haven't heard of Soul Man, I'm terrified to do this movie. I mean, I would rather do it than over Meaning of Life, but it's like so.
This is 100% people. If you've not seen this makes like white chicks seem politically correct. You remember where the Wayans brothers dress up as two white girls, full white face?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think I use that as an example of of like a movie that I would give 5 wipes because it's not only like dumb, it's
this is even worse. So if I remember correct, C. Thomas Howell is trying to get into Harvard, but he can't because of affirmative action. So he goes in full blackface to get into Harvard and then has to stay in blackface throughout. This is 1986.
And act black. Let's not forget the acting. Like the blackface is bad enough, but then the acting black is.
And then I remind you that his professor is James Earl Jones. So James Earl was okay with this project. So maybe we should give it a chance.
We got a comment from Madwar who says Leslie Nielsen is in this movie. In Soul Man?
He is. Yeah, Mr. Dunbar.
Man, you know this way better than I do. How many times did you watch this movie, Big D?
I was a big C. Thomas Howell fan.
It wasn't fulfilling some sort of a fantasy for you or anything?
No, I think, this is like a must. This is like Mannequin. This is like one of those bad, of course, this one's more problematic, but it's like a bad film that you're just going to have to watch and see how was it made.
I love Mannequin. Bampot says, I forgot about this film. How could you forget about this film? 83% of the chat says Soul Man. 17% Meaning of Life. So I guess Soul Man it is.
Yeah.
Let's rack it up. All right. By the way, everyone who's listening to this right now, and with us live on Twitch, this is all pending payment. So
yes.
these commissioners are kind enough to support the podcast, which helps
us.
Have
and
the
some
gear
of these are a bit old because just time constraints.
Yeah.
So when we hit them up again, they may have fallen off. They may have listened to Ash talk about communism, and they're like no longer on board with us. Yeah. So we'll see.
Thanks, Jim, and hope to see you out there on Destiny 2. Also, if anybody wants to cheer like $90 so I can get the latest Destiny expansion, that'd be really great. I promise to play it on the stream. Speaking of which, total side note, guys. Redfall. Redfall, is that right? Redfall?
Is this like a
video game?
Yes,
Redfall launches May 1st, and a bunch of the chat people are going to be playing it together. So if you haven't joined our Discord yet, go to chatpod.com/Discord, and you can hop in with us. I think it's 4-player co-op, so we play it on PC and Xbox crossplay, and I'll probably be doing some streams with it. So if you're interested in it, it's a vampire open world shooter, co-op shooter, so it could be a lot of fun. So anyway,
can I get that on my like Xbox Gold?
Yes, you
Is
can.
it one of those downloads? I don't have to buy it.
No, it's free on Game Pass.
Okay, I'll play with you.
Get in on it. Big D's in. I think Rob T, who commissioned Halloween 3, he's in. I think King B might be in. So have a lot of fun. Okay, next up we have one from Dave, and I've never heard of this movie. Dave says, embarrassing question. What is the cost to commission a review of a film? I would love to consider commissioning you guys to do another Australian beauty, Hercules Returns, if you think it's worthy. A lot of action in Australia. This film changed my life back in the day. When my friends were walking into a screening of the first Jurassic Park, I went into the other theater to see Herc, only to return the next day, flying solo once again to see it a second time. I loved it that much. If you haven't heard of it, it's a comedy that was extremely innovative for its time. I fear not many people know about this movie, so it'd be good to breathe some life back into it. I hope it will be up your alley. Anywho, let me know the fees as I'd love to get on the air. Anywho, let me know the fees as I'd love to get her on the air. Preview link below. You can tell me to piss off if you wanna. Ha ha. And that comes from Dave.
I mean, I already poo-pooed the World War II film, so I would leave this up to you and Ash. I mean, this one to me, it's got like a really abstract, avant-garde, like weird vibe. Like it's like a Rocky Horror. It's a guy in a large cinema chain, and then there's also, like, if you look at the posters, the poster's got a Hercules mask with it cut out, and then it says, "Can a boy named Testicle find true happiness in the pink pantheon of nightclubs and chlamydia? How does how does Herc convince Labia that he was not just another pretty pair of muscles?" It looks very weird. Then, of course, tying in with the Jurassic Park. Fewer dinosaurs than Jurassic Park, sexier than the Little Mermaid, happier than Gandhi. I mean, how could this go wrong?
Nah, I mean,
I'll switch it from a maybe to a yes.
yeah, that and this one we might have a little trouble finding. So
Fuck.
let's see if it's on Just Watch.
Yeah, this is Ninja. This can't be harder than Ninja Scroll.
Dude, it's not even on Just Watch.
So
So
I'm not surprised.
there you
Yeah,
go.
sorry about that. The Just Watch gods have decided.
No, I mean we could still get the DVD maybe shipped from Australia.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have enough lead time that we could maybe buy one and then pirate it or do something.
Dude, we have enough lead time to make the movie.
From the looks of the poster, we could make this movie.
Wow.
Yes, I'd say yes.
Sounds terrible. We'll do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's see. So next up, we've got one. Sorry. Thanks for your email, Dave. Next up, we are shifting gears again. This one is just about information. Oh, we should, before we move to the next one, pricing. So a lot of people ask questions about how much the movie costs, and honestly, it kind of depends. So about accessibility, how popular we think will be at the audience, and also just like how painful it's going to be to watch it. So we always leave that up to Big D's discretion. He's the money man. I'm just the looks.
Yeah, if you go to chatpod.com/support, what we do is we say, we don't want it. It's not about the money, because it just each month, just the cost excrementally. Each month, exponentially, the cost of continuing the feeds year after year after year, it expands. So we said anything over 175. We feel guilty, but if you can afford more, great. If you can't, we understand. It's not about the money. It's about keeping the lights on. Because the time we spend, the hours, the hundreds and thousands of hours combined, we can also then take, to keep all the feeds going and everything. It's not as cheap as you would think. So it's not about the money. It's about just whatever you feel. Anything over 175, unless we flat out say no about like movies about World War II.
Yeah, and if it's hard putting together the cash too, always remember that there are no rules against of crowdfunding.
Crowdsourcing.
So we've done that in the past. I think Titanic was a good example of that, where a couple listeners get together, package it up. That's totally fine too. And I will say that it's a testament to Big D, being very responsible with it. That there have been people who've suggested that we take the price up. Because we have commissions going into 2024 now, and again, it's not about the money. We want as many people to be able to access as possible. So really, we're not going to try to filter it down by making the most. We could charge $1,000 a movie and let people jump on and such, but we're not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, because as we've raised the price, it hasn't diminished the demand.
No.
Like each time I kind of would throttle it a little. I said, okay, let's increase 25. And the strange thing that happened is sometimes counterintuitively, you would raise it and more would come in. It was almost like there was an inherent value. Like we were a shit podcast at $80. I'm not fucking paying them $80, but 125, yes, sign me up.
They're professionals.
They're professionals. So some people pay well above that. Some people, so it's just about, otherwise, if we said, yeah, we'll do it for 50, we would be scheduled into the point where we're both going to die.
Yeah.
And we don't want to do that.
No. All right, Dave, thanks for your email. Now let's move on to some just general questions about the pod. This one comes from MJ, and it says, hey, Shaq crew, I'm like 5 wines and 3 cocktails on a Thursday, so let's go. What is your next Chat on TV series I need to binge? Your TV series are some of my favorite breakdowns, and I just feel like we all need to be blessed with your voices in a TV setting. Missing even Westworld. Yours, MJ. P.S. Still missing our #1 OG, Raj. Please be bigger people and make up. I love Ash and her much-needed female, yas queen, perspective, but I miss Roger's no-holds-barred honesty. Quit being PC. The rawness is for us the rawness is what for us all listening pre-pandemic. Anyway.
We were all within like 5 feet of each other. Roger,
Yeah.
yourself, and I.
Yeah.
So everyone's cool. There is no animosity. There is nothing. I love him. I mean, I flew out to Arizona to see him. I did some Krav with Gene. And you can love people, but there's people you can't work with. I love Roger. When Roger's on, I listen to our old stuff. It's fucking dynamite. We had a great chemistry. But in the end, you gotta help lift the fucking furniture if you're gonna move the house. You can't just sit on the couch with your feet up and yuck it up and then kind of you got to help. That's what it came down to.
Yeah, it's certainly not about being PC or that Roger
No.
said anything that was unacceptable.
Fucking love
In fact, he's one of the most socially conscious people I know. Like it's not about him saying anything that wasn't PC or anything like that. It was just strictly a matter of working together. So just to address that point. As far as the TV thing goes, we did have a question earlier on in the pod about finding our TV pod. We should clarify that each show has its own stream. So, Big D's organized it that way to keep them separate, make them easier to find as opposed to having one just general TV one, and also easier to sort through. So, Westworld has its own, Game of Thrones has its own, Lovecraft Country has its own, etc. So that's how you would be able to find them. As far as the next TV series we do, I think we all talked about it and agreed that if we were going to do any additional stuff, it would be more movies, honestly. If we had that time, if we had the extra 3 to 6 hours a week, we would just double up on movies. But the fact of the matter is, Big D and Ash, both parents with very busy lives and jobs. Me, I'm in the process of planning and having a wedding. I've got the dogs, I've got Krav and hashing and motorcycles and all my dumb shit. And so it's very, very hard to find that time. I'll be honest, and we talk about this quite often, but I don't really watch movies or TV shows outside of this podcast. So I tried to watch like The Last of Us. I saw 2 episodes on a flight. I was in a plane. That's when I usually get stuff like viewing done. And I liked it, but I haven't had time to see that. I haven't had time to watch Barry. I still haven't finished an interview with the vampire. So basically when I get COVID, those are the times that I actually get to catch up, or if I am flying and I've already seen the Shat movie for that week.
So, Gene, I'm going to share a link also. If you go to... Oh, shit, I don't know. How do I do that? Okay, let's go. I think I sent it, or do you have to approve it?
What's that?
I'm sending a link. Oh, it's not letting me...
Yeah,
oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you go to shatpod/subscribe, it is all of the podcasts, including all the individual TV ones, broken out by your catcher, your feed, Google, TuneIn, Spotify. You can one click, you sign up on whatever you want. And here's the thing I'll say about TV. No one can imagine the work it takes to put out 3 episodes a week. It is 4 or 5 days of dedicated your free time to research, putting it together, editing, feeding it, getting emails, voting. And each show we do puts us closer to never podcasting again. Every TV show, we start out optimistic. By week 5, everyone is like, fuck this. My life is miserable. Why would I do this? I don't ever want to do this again. It takes away the fun. And it impacts our lives, which is the biggest part. And as we get older, I'll be 50 in August. It becomes harder and harder to do things if you don't get pure joy out of it. So I think TV, as much as it was great, it is tough to do.
Yeah, and it's not to say never again either. I mean, if like things change, if you know, either we add on new people or our schedules change or something like that, maybe I don't know, maybe down the road, like you know, Sarah and I have a kid or adopt or something like that, I find myself spending a lot more time. You know how when you get a kid, you get lots more free time.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe I'm not out of the house as much, and something like that works out. It would be, you know, doable, or maybe in a different format, right? Like some sort of, like, you know, if we just do one episode a week that's on, you know, a live feed or something like that.
And if I can be honest, podcasting a show makes you unable to watch it and enjoy it.
Totally.
So instead of sitting back and watching, so I watched The Last of Us. I enjoyed it. Instead of being able to be like, okay, I'm going to watch the episode, sit back and relax and watch it, and then no, whatever. I have to be analyzing it, taking notes, doing research, running to record, release the Instacast, then starts the next day. Got to do research for the recording of the deep dive, start collating 100 emails, start voting. Whereas if I'm just watching, like Andor, I watched the entire thing. I loved it. I thought it's the best Star Wars material that's been released in probably 15 years. I could never have enjoyed it if I was podcasting about it.
And there's an additional factor too of when we do the movies and we're goofing on them and stuff. People might write a lighthearted email about how, you know, Big D didn't understand Muriel's wedding, or Ash didn't get Red Dawn, or how we were all wrong on the craft. And it's kind of fun and lighthearted. When it comes to TV, if you get anything wrong, that, like, the pitchforks are out. You know, they want blood.
Yep.
We had a question from Knowles Fan 73 in the chat. It says, how did you start the podcast? Big D, you want to handle that one?
Sure. Roger Roper he was a friend of mine. He's known him for 20 years. He used to live in Orlando. Him and I always had a love of movies, just shooting the shit. We had a good rapport. So he had started a podcast with a guy named Gene Lyons, and they did it about soccer. And so I was talking with Roger, wanted to find a way to have a kind of reconnect with him because he had moved to Arizona. And we started talking about a movie podcast. I said, let's do 80s and 90s. So him and I did, I think, I came up with a name that's a play on At the Movies. And I said, let's do it Shat the Movies because we're going to shit on it. We gave ourselves a mix-up names of the actual At the Movies guys. And I think episode 4, early on, we had Lost Boys. And neither Roger nor I knew anything about vampires. So they had the expert, Gene. So we brought Gene on, and he was just like a house guest that just never left. He just stayed, became part of the house, the furniture. And and at that point, keep in mind, people, I recorded with Gene for maybe 3 years before I ever met him in person.
And I've still
never met Ash.
Yeah, same. I've never met Ash in person either. I hope she's an actual person. The thing with Raj,
imagine if we've been getting catfish this whole time.
It's just Raj with like a filter, like a deep
or
fake.
like an AI bot, something.
No, the first pod that we did too, that Raj and I did together, it was amazing because we would spend. I mean, we were brand new to podcasting, so we would go get together. We'd have a studio area. We would record, then we would edit it down that night, and then like release it. And I mean, it was just hours and hours and hours of work. And we had, I think, when we hit 400 listeners, we were so excited that 400 people were listening to our podcast. And when he said, this guy wants to do a movies podcast, would you be into it? And first of all, I was like, why would anyone want to listen to us talk about movies? We're not filmmakers or movie experts. And 2, I was like, do you think we can build the kind of success we've already built with our soccer podcast? And it turns out we could.
We can. So we did a bunch of episodes, and I had the foresight. I don't want to put it on me, but I was a Westworld fan, knew it was coming, so I went and got the Westworld name. I created the feed, and we did Westworld as a way to tie in and promote the movies. That was the sole reason we started doing Westworld, because it was a 70s, 80s movie that we could easily do a crossover. And we fucking struck gold. Westworld blew up. Yeah. We were like number 2 podcast on all of Apple. It was huge. So that helped us build an audience. And we slowly went from, we grew pretty quick after that. It probably took us, I think, maybe 6 months to a year to hit 1 million downloads. 6 months was 2 million. 3 months was 4 million. We just crossed, I think, 10 million. We're probably 11 if I went and checked. So it all started that way and expanded. And we kind of, Carrie came on, Ash, Roger left, Roger came back. It was a mix, but it's been 6 years of love that keeps us going. And I can honestly say at this point, Gene, you're now my friend.
It's very sweet. And you're my friend. as well. Next up, we've got one from Teresa about a pod. Or sorry, next up we've got one from Teresa, and this could have helped when we were doing Lovecraft Country, probably, maybe even Watchmen. And she says, "Hi, Gent de Chat. I know someone has already commissioned Boomerang, and that the pod doesn't have a lot of brown/black movies reviewed. But I think before you review this movie, maybe check out Struggle Reviews on YouTube, and that's reviews with a Z. The creator has reviewed all the movies I grew up with. Maybe it'll get you to give some love to these movies outside of the pod. Stay safe, folks. Love you tons. I've been listening since the King Bee did Rambo. Also, I need some encouragement. I'm dying to take a martial arts, but I think I'm too old and chunky. What do you recommend?" And that comes from Teresa. So let's break that one down. So first part, as far as Struggle Reviews goes on YouTube. So I went and checked it out. It is excellent. So we said repeatedly when we did Lovecraft Country, when we did Watchmen, that Ash and I in particular did not have the black experience in America. We could not necessarily see things from a black viewpoint, and no matter how much book learning we did, we wouldn't. There's things that we were bound to miss. Well, Struggle Reviews goes and does a lot of movies like Boomerang, a lot of other like classic black movies, and really presents a lot of the things that I certainly missed when watching them. So it's an excellent YouTube resource. And by the way, like, it's crazy how YouTube has changed from when we were, when it first came out and we were just like, oh, you just post your videos on there, to now the content creators on there are so top notch. And you can just learn. I mean, anytime I'm trying to learn anything, it's usually YouTube is the way to go. And so it's a really wonderful stream. Highly recommend checking it out. And I definitely will, Teresa, check that out before we do any films in the future, and make sure and see if they're on there and kind of try to do a little additional learning and gain a bit more understanding. As for martial arts, Big D, you want to?
Oh, yeah. As a prior chunky guy, because I've lost now 125 pounds. So I'm no longer like the chunky Big D as much as I used to be. So I finally went out to Arizona because Gene has been hyping up his Krav Maga and his BJJ, his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I flew out. I was going to see Roger for soccer. And I said, you know what? I got to go to Gene's class. I promised him. I showed up. I was a little intimidated, right? We got this whole, what's the name of it? If you want to plug it, it's like the KV. I was wearing your shirt yesterday.
EVKM. East Valley Krav Maga. Yep. So
you walk in, it's a lot of mats. It is a very diverse class. I mean, there's every shape, size, ethnicity, age, a lot of people sparring. So it was exciting. And the nice thing was, this was my first class ever. Gene and I sparred. There was a couple other people in the class who were new, but everybody was supportive. I'm hooked. I would love to do it. If I was in Arizona where Gene was, 100% I would take it. Don't be intimidated. It's a good way to get out there and kind of feel your body, move around, and it builds confidence. And I can imagine doing it over time. You would definitely, it's something that you could really just feel proud about.
Yeah, Teresa, 3 thoughts on that. One is, I think all martial arts are terrific. I'm partial to Krav Maga and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It really depends on what you want to get out of it. I would say that Krav Maga is quick learning, self-defense, very practical. It is pretty intense physically. Jiu-Jitsu, it's much slower learning curve, and it takes years to really become proficient. It's also physically demanding in its own way. A lot of people don't realize, they think because you're on the ground a lot that it's like something like you're just laying there, but it's a lot of work. The drills, as Big D can attest, are exhausting. But the good thing about it is that any of these martial arts, people often say that they want to wait until they get in shape to try it out. You don't have to. And I have not seen a person who started out doing Krav or Jiu-Jitsu who did not naturally slim down as a result of it, because you're working out, you don't really know it, right? And the other thing, final thought on it, is that your first class, it's going to be tough. You're going to be sore. You're going to feel not great. But here's the deal. Like, literally 3 classes in, and your body, bodies are amazing things. You acclimate so quickly to it. And then, when I go now and I do a Krav class, I used to not eat before class. I would have to get myself psyched up to go to it. And now I can breeze through a class going 100%. And it's just it's the same as going for a walk or going to the bathroom. You just do it. And I'm not by any means athletic. Big D can attest to it. Sarah can attest to it. I'm not an athletic person. But your body acclimates.
Oh, you're selling yourself short.
I'm not. I'm not.
Well, yeah, I'll
I'm
tell you this,
slow,
people.
I'm not agile. I'm not very strong.
But you're ferocious.
I'm ferocious.
You're ferocious. People, I'll tell you the one thing. I tore my feet up like you would
Oh my
not
God.
believe. Giant, like, because you're not used to, and again, I'm still 250, where you're like driving off the inside of your toe and pushing. I lost at least a silver dollar size piece of skin on both feet. My body was telling me, hey, stop or put on socks. Did I listen? No. Other than that, and then that one big guy got me in the ribs. That's finally, but I didn't want to let on to it at that day. He's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, this dude, for any of you who know jiu-jitsu, this guy basically did like a Noki Toriando, threw these legs to the side, and then just pancaked him. Just full on like Andre the Giant action.
Yeah.
Sarah just threw a sloth emoji in the chat. That's me. I mean, I am incredibly
ferocious sloth.
Very
ferocious.
Yeah, I'm a two-toed sloth, not a three. All right. Thanks so much, Teresa. And hey, if you have any questions about martial arts, need any recommendations, whatever, you can always hit me up on Twitter, Gene_Lyons_ on Instagram. You can email us, host@chatpod.com, and I'd love to help you out with if you have any questions on any particular type. I'm like the Frank Dukes of the podcast. I blend them all. Next up, we have one from Mark asking how he can jump the commission line. He says, "Hi, Shatters. I'd really like the commission movie, but it looks like you're scheduled through the spring of 2024. I was wondering, after this episode, like Christmas, I was wondering if it was possible to squeeze in my commission within the currently published schedule. I just discovered the podcast not too long ago and have a list of commissions for you. Kindly let me know if this is possible, Mark."
Okay, again, we have done it in the past. We won't. So everyone is in line, right? I'm a big line guy. People are waiting to buy their tickets. People are waiting patiently. We will not bump the line. That is something we will not do. We've committed to you. You have a time slot a day. That's your time slot. But if something special comes up and you want to convince us to squeeze it in as a special bonus episode, we can do it. Now, is there a set price? No, because I don't know your situation. But it's make an offer. This is where the negotiation starts, because it's something special, something different, and everyone's case is different. We've had ones that were for family members who were like on the edge, who were like on death's door, who wanted it in memory. There were people, sometimes there's a reason behind it, which isn't as much important as whatever the commission is. So just talk to us, write us, and let us know.
And always remember, you can check the calendar as well. So Big D has set up the calendar going forward, the schedule for all the pods that are coming up. You can either scroll it chronologically, or what I like to do, if anybody's always ever asking, like, hey, do you guys have this show coming up? You can just use the search bar, and it works great. You can see what movies are already commissioned, and then pick one of your own. Thanks for writing in, Mark. Next up, we have one from Anya, and this is moving into some of the personal praises and attacks portion of the show. So thanks everybody who's been listening. By the way, if you want to chat, if you want to cheer, just a reminder, the little cheer icon is down by your chat bar. You can also use your channel points. It's a little bubble down there. And don't forget to subscribe as well. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, do that. Do that now, because you'll get updates when we go on YouTube Live, which is going to be like the next phase of our live stuff. And we're going to test it out. And depending on how it goes, we might shift platforms, maybe do a hybrid thing where we do games here and chat pod there. But I got a feeling that YouTube is going to be the way to go. So anyway, make sure to subscribe and use your Prime subscriptions as well. Moving on, we've got one, Roger Fest. What the fuck is Roger? Did I say something about Roger?
No, we were just talking about Roger, but like it was the email about reconciling, bringing him back.
Oh no, but this is something 204 just typed in now. Tell me more about Roger Fest 204. So anyway, but please, do chat. Do cheer and do use your channel points as well. We really love the support. Moving on to this email by Anya. Anya says, "Aloha, Ashley girl. In the nicest way to ask, is there any way to tone down the use of the word 'like' when you're talking? It would help us listeners out. I really enjoy you and your input on the movies, and you are such a smart woman. It's just nails on a chalkboard when the word like is used as a stopgap every other word. I hope I don't come across as negative. Sorry. I hope I don't come across as negative. We got to stick together and make each other better. All my aloha, listening from Hawaii, Nea, Anya.
So no one out there, if you don't have a podcast, recording hundreds of hours of yourself speaking, you'll realize that you have tics. And when Gene and I do the editing, so Ash does the likes, and a lot of times I will pull them out. Sometimes I can't. She must have heard, because Ash in the last couple months has gotten dramatically better with the likes. So I don't know if this comment came up in a review or something else also, but she's made a big difference. And I feel like she's toned the likes. And I always say, and the thing that bothers me now is I say, and I found myself thinking, I'm like, fuck, when did I become Seinfeld? So like that shit, everybody's got their tick.
My biggest pet peeve, and you probably already know this, Big D, is for me. I when I hear somebody say the words for me, in my head I hear for me, because it's not necessary, right? This movie was really fun for me. Yeah, no shit. You're the one who's
you
telling.
must hate me. I say that shit all the time.
All three of us do it. All three of us do it.
Okay,
And when
good,
I'm
good.
editing, I'm like just beating my head against this. I'm like, why do we keep saying that? He was my favorite character for me. Well, no shit. That's what a favorite is. So listen, we've all got the things we hate. Just be glad, Anya, that you don't have to edit this.
Oh,
because
fuck no.
holy shit, we are cutting out the ums, the uhs, the weird breaths, kids in the background, dogs
Fucking
in the
squeaky
background,
chairs.
squeaky chairs. So there's a lot
Children.
that we're cleaning up, and I've said it before. I've shared this stat. For every minute of pod you're hearing, it usually takes us about 3 minutes of editing. So
Yes.
think about
Yeah.
that. But we do appreciate the feedback. We hope that you
Yeah.
can overlook the likes, and just know the hardest ones to cut out is when like is rapidly thrown between two other words. If it starts the sentence, we're definitely clipping that out. So you're being exposed to, I think, maybe 20
Yeah.
to 10% of the total likes.
We have reduced your like ratio by at least 15 to 20%.
There you go. 2 of 4 says your editing is awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We do work really, really hard on it. All right, so moving on from Anya, we got one from Daniel Vogel. This one's about the Big Lebowski. It says, hello, guys. I was just listening to your Big Lebowski episode, and I absolutely love the repertoire between the three of you. Which one of you went to the University of Florida in the late 90s? I went there in the late 80s, and you absolutely took me back to my college days. I'm loving your podcast. Your newest fan, Daniel Vogel in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Roger, that was Roger, and Roger gave it a 0. We all liked it. Big Lebowski, it's a top 10 film for us.
And
Great.
correct me if I'm wrong, and Roger was also Albert, right? The alligator?
Yeah, he was.
At your beloved University of Florida?
Yes, he was Albert. He would ride the bus with the cheerleaders and the band to the games. He's a big UF supporter even to this day.
Where did you go
And
to
UF
school?
soccer as well. I went to the University of Stony Brook, University of New York at Stony Brook.
I don't ever see you wearing like sweatshirts or t-shirts or anything.
I don't feel the need to identify. I like my individuality.
Okay.
As I'm wearing an Under Armour
the Wounded
shirt.
Warrior.
I'm a hypocrite. I'm
Ah.
a hypocrite. I choose the different groups.
Listen, I mean, I know why you're doing it. It's so that if anybody is watching and questioning your, military disability, they know that you tore your foot up at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, we've got one from Steve of the Beer O'Clock Show. He says, recently I've gone back to the start of your catalog, and I've been listening from show number 1. Ah, what a nostalgia bump it was hearing the Shat rating first introduced in episode 3, and then all that familiar intro spiel in episode 4. Finally, just want to finish by saying Ash's addition to the lineup was inspired. She brings a totally different view to the podcast, and I could listen to her accent talk me to sleep every night. Fuck the haters. One day I'll get around to getting enough cash for a commission, but in the meantime, if you're ever feeling generous, I'd love to hear you folks cover the 1984 rock and roll fable, Street of Fire. Keep up the excellent work, Shat crew. Cheers, Steve from the Beer O'Clock Show podcast.
So if I'm correct, that's Eddie and the Cruisers.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely like that. Milestones. I remember. I didn't know we introduced the Shat Score at 3. I remember when someone wrote in and recommended doing the trailers, at the end of the film, or at the end of the review. That was a milestone. I wonder when you started saying like a line from the film, when they said, and Gene Lyons, and you go, I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
Yeah, I don't know when that started. You know what? I feel like this is like this is the kind of conversations that people have at like conventions, right? Like if we're at the con, like, hey, do you remember in episode 3 when Gene started doing that thing? You're like, oh yeah, was that when that was? I don't know. We live it, man.
But man,
oh sorry.
Go you.
I was gonna say, but to answer your question, Big D, no, Eddie and the Cruisers was the movie called Eddie and the Cruisers. Streets of Fire, I think we actually might even have in our lineup. That's the one. It's like the motorcycle like street gangs.
Oh, I think we might.
So yeah.
Sounds.
NLE Page says it'd be nice if you do like a Twitch once a month or every other. We love listening in. It seems like everyone is agreeing more chat. So one of the things that we often talk about, don't always execute on, is doing our recordings with an audience, like live. It wouldn't be quite like this in the sense that we're not interacting NLE as with the audience like as directly, right? But it's an opportunity to like look in on the pod. Since we're recording it anyway, we're already on camera with each other. We're already doing the pod, and so it might be the sort of thing, again, depending on YouTube channels, because there's tons of discoverability on YouTube as well, where we might consider starting to do that as a regular thing. But I love doing these little episodes where we kind of get together, just kind of review stuff, chit chat, and then of course the gaming streams are not very popular with our audience, so we probably won't be doing a ton of those. It's a lot of work to do the technical side of it, and not a lot of people tune in. They're much more into kind of the conversational stuff here. But this is a great way to get through a backlog of emails, and we appreciate you guys listening.
I always find myself wishing, there I did it again, that we could be doing live watches, like a Mystery Theater 3000. If there was a way to do live watches of some of these movies, I think it would be great.
Yeah, so I mean, so we can do it on Twitch with Amazon Prime. In which case we can, anything that's on Amazon Prime streaming, we can do like included in Prime Video, not rentals, right? But like we did it with The
my
Expanse.
God. Yeah, okay. No, I was thinking of the movie we did it with. Oh, yeah, that one we did it was the college, it was the road trip.
Oh yeah, that was a debacle. That was John Cusack in The Sure Thing.
The Sure Thing.
Yeah,
The Sure Thing.
Yeah, that did not work out so great. But it's doable to do it that way. You can still do it through Twitch with Amazon Prime. The other thing we can do, not that we would do this hypothetically, because I don't know if it would run afoul of any laws. I'm not saying we've done it, but inside the Discord, we can also watch movies together and have mics live and cameras live as well. So that's a place where that can happen. Although our Discord, thanks to the King Bee, has been dwindling very quickly as he scares people away. So sorry to everyone who's left our Discord because they were harassed by my best friend. Melee666 says, love to see you guys do Naked Lunch or Altered States. I have seen Naked Lunch. I have not seen Altered States. 2 of 4 says, my all-time favorite review is Mad Max. That was a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
Again,
it's a time capsule.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
If you remember, that was right as, I think, again, we're going back 6 years. The pandemic had just caused the NBA to cancel all of its games. I think the NHL, it was all sports had stopped. The world came to an end, and we had that movie, and we were talking about people looting paper towel and toilet paper, bring me your mac and cheese. Roger and I, we thought at that point that might be the end of the world.
Yeah. I thought the pandemic was going to last like a week.
Oh, I thought I was going to get COVID right away and be like sick and die. I thought I would be the one who would get it.
Yeah. I mean, if any of us was going to get it and die, it'd probably be you.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you found out that you're too tall to get it.
No, I probably still will. I'll get some like double Omicron. Omicron, it's inevitable.
Then I'm left with your file and have to send all the refunds to people.
Yes.
That's the thing is if any of the rest of us left the pod, people would continue to commission. If Big D died,
you just get an AI.
It'd be like a run. It'd be like a run on the bank. Everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna need a Streets of Fire commission back. Yeah.
A chat GBT version of me. Just feed
Put your
it some
head
of the
in a
podcasts.
jar. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have one from Vinny in England, and this is our. We have one more after this, and that'll be it. So get all your tears out now, your hugs and all. Vinny says, I've been listening to you guys for a time now. Roger was still a host back then. I was looking for a new podcast and found Chat the Movies. I was born in 78, so I'm exactly the right age range. Downloaded a few reviews of movies I loved, listened, and honestly, I don't know how I carried on after hearing you shit all over some of my favorite films. But something made me keep going. Everybody's entitled to be wrong. I first listened to all the films I like, then I thought about the films I haven't seen but should have. By that point, I decided I would listen to episodes of films I had no intention of ever watching, and a little while ago, I had run out of stuff to listen to, so I decided to go back and listen to Chat the Movies in chronological order. I now have you three as my internal monologue, but I've been spending more of my working week in your company than my wife and kids. I love all three of you equally, the chemistry between you and your own unique opinions. I have so much to say to you, but I won't give it to you all in one go. Just know that even though criticisms will come from... Just know that even criticisms come from a place of love. So for that, I'll leave it at that. From the rainy southeast of England, Vinny.
So when I'm watching the movie a lot, I've probably talked to Gene more than members of like relatives, because him and I, we talk weekly, hundreds of hours. Like we've been now recording 6 years, thousands of hours. Gene is in my head. I'm watching movies and we're taking notes, and then we kind of throw them all up onto into Slack or into Trello. There are some times that things are almost word for word facts of things that we have picked out. Hey, that bothered me. Hey, that was that. I'm watching the movie. Gene is like little angel. Gene is like sitting on my shoulder, like, hey, look at that. Look at that. I'm like, yeah, Gene, I see it. Yeah, I agree with you, buddy.
The funniest is when we'll be talking about something and then we have to remind ourselves, hey, like, don't forget that for the pod. And then we'll record the whole pod. I go, fuck, we forgot that thing. That thing that we talked about for an hour on the phone. We fucking forgot to do it. But no, I totally agree with that. It's, and sometimes I get really excited and antsy to like see the notes just because I want to know, like, did Big D pick up on that thing? And did he think of it the same thing that I imagined that he would think of it? So certainly even though we watch apart, we're still kind of watching together. Well, thanks, Vinny, from writing from all the way in England. And finally, we have our last mail for this episode. And by the way, again, if you want to call in, leave us a voicemail, you can go to chatpod.com, use the SpeakPipe feature, leave us a voicemail. We'll get those into future episodes. If you'd like to write us, host at chatpod.com, and we will definitely read those and get back to you on them. Next up, and finally, is Leslie writing in. She says, when my son was born, at about 5 weeks old, he hit the phase that so many parents know, the phase where he would scream and cry for hours on end into the night. It got to the point where the only thing my husband and I could do was take shifts in the night sitting by his crib and soothing him, as we became absolutely exhausted with other techniques like rocking, carrying him, etc. It was during this phase that I found your podcast when I was just looking for something lighthearted to listen to in my headphones to partially drown out his screams, and I hit the jackpot with y'all. You gave me something to distract myself with and laugh at, and also time travel to watching some of my favorite or least favorite movies during those very late nights. My son is 3 months old now and thankfully grew out of that phase, but I just wanted y'all to know how much you made me smile during that time. I'm obviously way behind because I'm still in the Roger episodes, and I understand Roger isn't there anymore, and hopefully the host that replaced him will make me laugh and smile as much as the three of y'all did when I was desperate for a life preserver. Blessings, Leslie.
Well, Leslie, thank you very much. It's nice to know that listeners get the same joy that we do. Like, I think of the life of the podcast and the people that we've met along the way, the people who dropped into our lives for a little bit, and then whatever happened, they lost touch with the podcast. Some come back. It is like a giant group of friends that I feel very lucky. All the interactions that I've made. Never, like, the fact that we're sitting having a conversation, people are choosing to listen to us on their way to work, or that we can give people a little break in their lives. It is very special to us, and it's something that I know everybody says, thanks, to our listeners, and all. It does make a difference. And it's part of the reason why when we've been doing some of the TV shows where we're like, fuck it, I'm done. My head's going to explode. I'm fighting with Vanessa, things at work. You're like, we can't do it. You'll always get that email that somebody's like, thank you. And you're like, oh, why was I so hard on us?
One of the wildest things, and I don't know if you experienced this, Big D, but I can spend 3 days trying to wedge in 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there to get the edit done. So total of, let's say, 3-4 hours on that edit, do the write-up, get it posted and all that stuff. And you would think the last thing I would want to do is listen to that thing I just edited. No, I'm sitting there refreshing Apple Podcasts until
Yeah.
our episode comes up so I can listen to it. And it's just like listening to it. It's like I wasn't the one who edited it. It's like hearing it all over again. And I think that's the key that keeps me going is I can hear it the way you all hear it. So hearing your feedback, but also listening to it and going, man, like this is a decent podcast. I enjoy this. It makes me happy to listen to. If I stopped enjoying our podcast, I would probably stop doing it.
And also, I think that's why you and I have lasted through the entire thing, is that you and I have a similar dedication to quality. I'm neurotic. I'm OCD about it to a point where I want it as clean as I can because I want the people out there to know we care.
Big D,
What?
Big D runs voicemail from the listeners through an audio processor before putting it. This is like people are calling on like a rotary dial phone from the backwoods of North Carolina with
They
like a
are,
broken
they are.
handle. There's a dog panting in the background, and somebody's mom's making peanut butter jelly sandwiches. You can hear it, and he's like, "Oh, we got to clean this up. We got to get the
You got
best on. I want to hear that peanut butter."
Because when you have like a people call in, there's high highs and low lows and a lot of noise. I run through the processor because they're good. I want to hear them. Yeah, I care about it. And if you and I didn't care as much about the final product, right? Like you and I, we never cared about Game of Thrones. If I called him Dundar Barbarian or I fucking blew up a name or whatever it was, the fact we got wrong, that shit never bothered me. But when someone would call and be like, hey, the audio quality was shit. That edit was shit. That's the stuff that's like, oh, dagger in the heart.
What kills me is I have a couple of podcasts I listen to where they just record them live on YouTube Live, and then they just literally dump that, and nobody seems to mind. And I'm like, are we overdoing it? But then I listen to it. I'm like, no, I like it to be clean.
I go to sleep at night to podcast a lot of times. As soon as I hear the audio is all different levels, there's ambient noise, I'm like, next.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Leslie, for your very, very kind words. Thank you to everybody who wrote in and everybody who joined us. Gunsmoke has a question. Says, have you guys ever considered changing the opening theme song? Well, I tell you this, the King Bee fucking hates it. I think it's great.
It was fantastic. I remember hunting for the song, and yeah, that's a slight edit on the song. It is the first verse, because if you ever listen to it's by Guys Night Out. There's a full version where it goes through each of the movies. And if you want, all of our podcasts have a link to Guys Night Out, who recorded the song. And each verse is about John McClane and each of the movies. So we have obviously the first one in there. When we do Die Hard 2, we haven't done it yet, right?
No, we've not.
Okay. If we did that, I might change the theme song to cover like the second episode.
That's that
But
dedication.
other than that, no. This fucking song is...
It's us. It's our song.
Remember when we just... It's upbeat. It's fun. It kicks you off from that cold open. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and we actually shout out to Rob T in the UK. He actually offered to do a jingle for us. So he did a little one for Halloween 3, and he's like, I can do one for, he did that nice like movies of the 80s with Shat, the movie, and then he said I can do a 90s one that's like a grunge one too. And Rob, it's such a gracious offer, and it's so kind, and like the amount of work that a lot of the listeners put into making this podcast better, we couldn't ask for a better audience, but it made me realize just how attached I am to the Shat theme. It's just it gets me pumped. It's
the glue.
Yeah, it is the glue.
Was it in the first episode?
What's that?
The theme song.
Fuck, I don't know. The first episode was big, right?
The beginning, Roger and I struggled with technology.
Okay.
And it sounded like I remember I said, I think the cold open to Gremlins it sounds like you and I are talking on 2 tin cans with a string from houses next to each other.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I think there was very little infrastructure, too, to like make recording remotely even possible. NLE Page 89 asks if we have a Patreon. We do not. And we've also gotten quite a few like emails and messages on Instagram asking if we have like sponsors, and we also do not.
We don't. And the reason we don't do Patreon is we don't want to gate the content.
Right.
I don't want it to be like, hey, you have to pay to get this, get the Insider Shat movie. No, I don't want that. If you can support us, support us. If you can't, you can't. I don't ever want to gate content. That's why we don't. You can go on to like our PayPal one and set up a reoccurring $2, $1, whatever you choose to. You can do that, but we don't want to keep content from people.
That being said, if you join our Discord, you can buy pictures of Big D's feet. He'll do that.
Oh, you were giving them free on TikTok, weren't you?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, everybody, for joining us again. Thank you to everybody who wrote in. And be sure to check out our latest pod. Right now, we've got Halloween 3 out. No. Is Halloween 3 out? Yes.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't even remember.
Like we live in the movie schedule. That's
Yeah.
the way that we live. Yes,
So we
Dances
got-
with Wolves is this week.
Yeah, so Dance with Wolves, we've recorded. It's going to be released tonight. We're recording the Muppet movie, so a lot of fun stuff coming up.
Next week, man.
What's next week?
Splash.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good one. I
Yes.
can't believe we haven't done that one yet. Our Discord again is chatpod.com/Discord.
Let me make sure that works.
It does. I
It
think
does.
so.
Okay. Does it need the forward? The at Discord. It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Good job, Big D.
It's just
Oh, yeah, we
testing,
got some
making
new
sure.
people in there too. Look at that. All right. So anyway, yeah. So jump on in there. Where a lot of us are in there. We organize little play dates, and sometimes I'll just put outtakes in there to see which one we should go with for the pod. So I always like to hang out there. But yeah, Splash coming up, Muppet movie coming up, Dance with Wolves coming up, Halloween 3 out right now. It's a little taste of Halloween in April. So thanks guys so much for listening, for tuning in. I am going to read the support message now, and then we'll be all done. So that concludes this week's special episode of Shat the Movies. Sure, follow us on social media, share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all the information, as Big D said, on our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, which is actually multiple podcasts, each by the name of the show, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on shatpod.com/TV. Everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of Big D and Ash, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for, when are we slipping this one in? On behalf of my co-hosts,
Just join us next week for the next movie.
join us next week for the next movie. Oh, Gremlins.
It was a gift from Roger.
Like
years
recently?
ago.
Oh,
No, years ago.
Thanks, Death Dak. Thanks, NLE Page. Thanks, 204. Thanks, Bampot, Malice, Madwar. Appreciate it. Everybody, have a great week. Have a great Sunday night, wherever you choose to watch tonight, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower to meet with Holly. He came to get her back and to be her man, but Hans and his buddies fucked up the plan, and that's about when everything went sour at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis.